Good morning and welcome to Sewing Street on this lovely frosty Monday morning. Actually, when I left home this morning, it was quite clear, but I got up here and it was frosty everywhere. It's nice to have a bit of cold weather though, isn't it? It kind of feels a bit more Christmassy, like winter's coming, and that's just really nice. Liked all the frost this morning. So we've got loads on the show for you today. Loads, and it's Yarn Lane Day as well, which is even more exciting. But I'm going to start off with our special early bird this morning. And I really like this. This is brand new to air today. It's a thread cutter and it's one of those little tools that I usually say only does one thing, but does one thing really well. But actually this does more than one thing. So first of all, it hangs on your neck. Look, keep it with you, hang on all day. And I'll take it off. I think I might take it off so you can actually see it. So it's a lovely little daisy flower, and can you see? Yeah, there are little blades. I'm going to show you how it works with a reel of thread. So there are little blades all around the edge of the flower. So if you want to cut your thread, you just put that there. Look at that. And the best thing is, you can't get your fingers in. I've tried that, and you can't get your fingers in to cut. So if you just need to cut a length of thread, you could keep it on your sewing table, keep it next to your machine, hang it round your neck. Oh, knock your glasses off. But you know, if you're doing something in front of the telly, and I know I always have a little pair of embroidery scissors, and they always end up down the side of the sofa, or the dog runs off with them. But look, you can just cut your threads. So that's really useful. It's a great, actually, if you ever do any sewing on the plane. Not allowed to take scissors on the plane, especially long ones, but that would be ideal for that. But there's lots of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blades all the way around. Great for cutting thread, but that's not all it does. I'm going to take it off again. Now you can see you can hang it around your neck. You don't have to hang it around your neck, by the way. It does come off, so if you don't want it around your neck, you can undo it, and it comes. Brilliant stocking filler. Anyone you know likes sewing, because it's just one of those lovely little things. But it's not just that. I'm going to get you a needle. Inside, if you pull this, there's a needle threader. Look at that. Who knew? So I'm just going to put it on my hand. Can you see? What if I put it on a... Oh no, I need something... Can you see it on the packet? Oh, can you see it on the packet? Anyway, I'm going to show how it works. So it's a little wire, and all you do is, if you struggle to see, like I do, so you slide the needle threader through the eye of the needle, and then you take a length of thread, which you cut off on the thread cutter, obviously. And then all you have to do, now you've got a nice big loop, thread the thread through there, like that. Hang on a minute, I've got it all twisted. Right, then you just pull the needle off and it's threaded. Magic. And then you just pop that back in. There you go. What a lovely little thing. So the idea behind the early bird is to give you a great deal, but this is a brand new product, and we've done a few price comparisons just to make sure that we're offering you a really good deal, and it is a brilliant deal. So today, £4.99, we've got a couple here for you, £6.03, £6.03, so we're saving you £1.04. You know, but when it's something very low cost like this, you know, you can see that we are giving you a great deal, but it's just a really nice little gadget, isn't it? There's another price comparison here. How much is that one? £5.99, and ours is £4.99, but it's just a nice little thing. So it's detachable, you can hang it around your neck, brilliant to put in someone's stocking, brilliant to put in your own stocking, and it's just a pretty little thing. Nice gadget. Now, remember, if you've not shopped with us before, or if you have, I'm just reminding you, there's only one post and package a day. So it's £3.95 for P&P, but you only pay it once. It doesn't matter how much you buy with us, how much you shop, or how many times. So you put things in your basket and check out. Once you check out, your P&P's done. And then if you then check out even 20 times between now and midnight, you will still only pay that £3.95. So if you pop this in your basket now, that's your P&P done. But also, if you're a Yarn Lane lover, like Catherine and I are, that covers Yarn Lane as well. So if you buy something on Sewing Street and Yarn Lane, or just Yarn Lane or just Sewing Street, it covers both of them. So you're £3.95, get it out of the way at the beginning, and then after that it's free. Free. So remember, there's 8 blades going all the way round, and all of the blades will cut your thread. And I guess the reason is you probably don't need 8 blades, but it just means that it's just easy, isn't it? You can just cut things quickly. It doesn't matter what angle you're coming at. You can hold it on your lap. You can take it off. You don't need to have it on the lanyard, but it's quite handy to have around your neck, isn't it? Or you just pop it beside your sewing machine, and every time you need to cut your thread, it's just easy, isn't it? That's really, really nice. I think it is very good for a gift, because at £4.99, that's a really good price, isn't it? There's a lot of you at the moment who are multi-buying, so you're obviously putting a few in your baskets thinking, I'll have one for me and my friend as well. Because I'd like one. So we've got a message from Janine. What does Janine say? Who says, morning. Good morning, Janine. Good morning. It is, it's just a lovely thing. Actually, I think I would put it around my neck. It is really handy. It's so. Janine said it's so handy, but it is just a nice little thing. But we've got lots of you messaging in this morning. There we go. There is. It's a little. So we've sold over a quarter of the stock already. So if you do want this, I would suggest you pop it in your basket and check out now, because it is a very nice little gadget. I love a gadget. Who doesn't love a gadget? It's always my favourite thing, you know, when you get those free catalogues through the post and it says gadgets on the front. You think, oh, I'll have that. Love a gadget, particularly a sewing one. And that's a really nice one. And it's very useful as well, because it's got the needle threader. And if you're anything like me these days, I need super strong glasses or a needle threader. And that works really well. And I've tried it on all different needles. I tried it on a beading needle, and it worked with that as well, because I wanted to make sure it wasn't just for your super chunky needles. And on the website, we've had a look. We haven't got anything like this. We haven't got any little sort of thread cutting gadgets. So just highlighting it for you this morning as a really, really good special early bird for you. So should we have a look at what's coming up? Because I told you we've got a really, really busy day. So first thing, 8 o'clock, we've got Katherine with us, who is going to show us how to make What's the Weather wall chart. Do you remember those lovely wall charts you used to have at school? And you get chosen if you were the special monitor that you could put the weather on. So this is ideal for schools, but actually just for home as well. I made one for my children when they were younger, and they used to love putting the weather on and the date. So we've got a special kit, everything you need to make the wall chart, including the Velcro. Then 9 o'clock, we've got a hand embroidery hour. Lots and lots of different things. We've got kits, fabric, hoops, materials, books, everything to do with hand embroidery. One of my great passions, hand embroidery and crochet. Those are my 2 biggest passions at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to that hour. At 10 o'clock, we've got a brand new quilt we haven't shown on air before. And it's the Riley Blake Design Roll Quilt. So I love Riley Blake fabrics. They're always very fresh and clean and bright and lovely, and one of my favourite things. So we've got the Riley Blake Designer quilt that Catherine's going to show us how to make today, which is a design from a book that we'll be selling as well. Then at 11 o'clock we've got Kits Revisited, which I'm quite excited about, because I'm going to demo how to make these Christmas thatch cottage. So this is designed by Amber Makes, which is me and my friend Amy, who I used to work with. And Amy and I got together to make Amber Makes, and we create kits of things that we want, actually, which is great, isn't it? Because we just make things that we'd like. But I design the kits, and Amy does all the beautiful pattern prints. So we're going to show you I'm going to show you how to make the doorstop, but in the kit as well, you also get the pincushion, which you can put, it's got little pockets in, and it's got a detachable flap to put your needles in, and it was a pincushion, or you can just use it as an ornament. But it's Special Christmas Cottage with Father Christmas in the roof. And then at 12 o'clock, it's Yarn Lane, which is very exciting. What am I looking for? The bundle. We've got ladies' winter knits today. So we've got an Aran jumper, a shawl, a poncho, a lovely warm zigzag jumper. We've got bundles of yarn. We've got pattern packs as well. I'm looking, oh, so that kit, yes. I'm just going to move the cottage one moment. So that's coming up at 12 o'clock with Yarn Lane, ladies' winter knits, which is going to be really, really good. There's so much choice in there. It's going to be a bit mad, really. We were looking at the yarn before. There's going to be a lot going on. Right, so before we get into how to make the weather chart, let's talk about the website. So if you would like to get in touch with us, there's the website. You go on to sewingstreet.com. On there, you can either watch us live if you're not watching on TV, and below that on the website, if you click on Watch Live, all the products that we'll be showing on air will be listed one by one as they go on air. At the moment, there's a few things on there left over from yesterday, but what we'll be doing is as the products go on to air, they'll be on there. So it's just easier for you to find. So sometimes we put them onto pre-order, which just means that if you want to watch the demo, you want to see how it's made, you can click onto the Watch Live, all the products are below, you can pop them in your basket, and then you can just sit back and enjoy the demo, because we've got 3 demos for you today. You can sit there, learn a few things, learn some tips, techniques, different ways of doing things. If you want to message us, if you've got any questions about what we're doing and you want to ask us anything, you just message us at on the website. You can message us. You see that little box? The little box there that you can message us on? Or you can just message email us on studio@sewingstreet.com. So as you're going along, if there's any questions you've got, because we've got Katherine on air today, she's a sewing and a knitting expert, so she can help you with anything you want to know, and I'll give it a go. So just message us as we go along today. So today I'm going to show you first the finished weather chart. I love this. Right, so Katherine has made this for us in advance just to show you what it looks like. So you've got, it's lovely, it says on the top, what is the weather today? And then you've got all the days, and then you've got all the months, and then you've got the numbers. So what you do, obviously every day, Katherine's just made this one and sewn it on for us. You've got Tuesday, 12th of August. That was obviously when it was made the last time. Or maybe that's just hoping that it's the summer. Tuesday the 12th of August, I wish. Then you can put what season it is. So all the seasons live at the bottom, spring, summer, autumn and winter. The weather, they all live down the side, so you can put the weather on. But it's just a lovely thing. So, I mean, obviously it's ideal for schools or nurseries, but it's also really perfect to just have at home. I used to have one of these at home and the children loved it because every day they would come along, they get the Velcro and they'd stick them on. But it's just a really nice thing. It's a lovely thing if you wanted to buy it as a gift for somebody who sews to make, particularly for an older child, you know, as their first sort of maybe a teenager for their first project, or make it with them. If you've got grandchildren or children who are a bit younger and you want to do some sewing with them, it's quite a simple make, but it's also a brilliant present. Make it up and give it to someone. Any child would love to have this hanging on their wall or the back of their door. So in the kit, you get the printed fabric panel. I'm going to open it up. Now this is exclusive to Sewing Street. You cannot buy this anywhere else. So all the little pieces on there are all changeable. So as you can see, that's what the panel looks like. This is just a made up one so you can see. But all of these gaps, there's all got gaps in it. So you make up all of the months and then they stick on here. Obviously they look bigger on here than they are here because they've got the seam allowance on, because it's been made especially so it works. Then you've got all the days of the week here. Then you've got all the different weathers: sunshine, rainy, snowy, windy, cloudy. Yes, I wonder which. I'd like a bit of snow actually. I hope we have snow this year. Unfortunately, It's a shame actually. You should be allowed to choose, shouldn't you? Go, right, today I would like it to be snowy, and then you pop it on there. Oh, I'd love to have a bit of snow. But there's also, what I like is the space to put 2 of them. Because quite often you don't just get one, do you? You know? So you could put what the weather is outside. You could put 2 on, change it as the day. Then you've got all the day, the numbers. So they all go in on here, and then you can just put the 2 numbers on that you need. And then you've got the seasons as well, spring, summer, autumn and winter. And then the seasons all sit at the bottom. So obviously you change that. It's a really good way as well of teaching children what date the season changes. 21st, very important then. Because a lot of people go, oh, I don't know, when does summer start? When does winter start? So they'd soon know because they get to change this every 3 months. So in the kit, you get the printed chart, which is exclusive to Sewing Street. You won't find that anywhere else. You also get a metre, this glorious sort of purpley pink. I wonder what its name is. Whole metre of that. It's like a purpley pink fabric that does blend beautifully with that. Now there's enough fabric here to put on the back, but also to bind around the edges and put tabs on the top. So you've got more than enough. It's a really lovely, rich purpley pink, like a, I don't know, a fuchsia-y colour? No, fuchsias are a bit bright pink, aren't they? Bright purpley pink. You also get the hook and loop tape. So you sew the hooks to the chart and you sew the loops to the numbers and the dates and everything. So everything you need, and also you get the wadding, because the wadding goes inside, which quilts it, gives it a bit of body. It makes everything stand out when you sew around the edges of it. So everything you need is in the kit. And we've had another message from Sharon. Oh, Sharon made one of these for a mother-in-law who's got dementia. And it was really useful. But I guess it is. It's a really good way of keeping a track for anybody of where you are, what the day is, what the weather is. I think it's a really lovely thing. And it's just one of the, you can, obviously we've all got calendars and digital things on our phone and everything, but having something like this, you keep it every year. There are no years on here, so it will last forever and ever. But just a really nice thing. But I think it's an ideal gift for a child to make up as well, just to give them for Christmas. And if you order it now, you've still got time to do it. So, without further ado, good morning, Catherine.
Morning, Rebecca.
Morning, and what's the weather today?
It was very frosty, wasn't
Was it? Yes.
Yes, I had to defrost my car very early this morning.
Did you? See,
yes.
Mine was fine. It must have just suddenly hit the Midlands.
Yeah. But hopefully, I don't know, it was still dark when we got here, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe
hopefully it'll be nicer when we get back outside.
So where do you start with this? Because it doesn't come with instructions, because it doesn't really need them, does it?
Not really, no. So we'll start by cutting everything out. I've cut my
So what do you do? Just cut round the outline?
I just use my scissors to cut round the outline of the main bit.
You don't have to add anything then?
No.
No seam allowance?
No, on my demo one that I made up, I cut to the edge and then I just covered the edge a little bit with my binder. You could leave a seam allowance if you wanted to, but I don't think you need to.
Okay.
You've got plenty around your edge of your blue. Doesn't kind of need a big border unless you want to put one on, does it?
No, but there's enough space there, isn't
yes,
there, to add that on? Okay.
Yes, there is. Now, I did rotary cut out some of my little shapes already. I'm not a fan of the winter. Oh. I've chosen May, spring, sunshine.
Oh, okay.
It's very wishful thinking. So I thought I'd start with those. I like May best when it's nice and sunny. I'm either too hot or too cold, but there's usually about one day in May when I feel just right.
Just right, okay.
Just right. Okay, and then we need to start by putting all our little Velcro bits on. And I counted up, there's 45 different things to do.
40, wow.
So we can have a nice little 2 centimetre square of Velcro, which actually is 3/4 of an inch.
So if you cut all your Velcro out first,
yes,
then you've got enough.
So you can cut it up into little bits.
Okay.
But I worked that out for you, that you'll have enough if you do them that size, which I think will just be about right. I hadn't worked out if you got enough to do 2 on the weather, but I bet you might.
Okay, so I think you get a metre of this hook and loop tape
Yes.
in the kit.
So you should have a little bit left over.
As long as you cut
because 2
about...
centimetres times 45 is 90 centimetres, so you should be all
Oh,
right,
okay,
shouldn't
so
you?
there will be enough to put
Yeah,
two.
so if you want
it's
to put an
best
extra one on, you can.
So do you cut them out together? Do you make sure
Yes,
it's stuck
I
together?
sandwich them together. You can
Okay.
see there's both little bits there. And I think that to save yourself getting really quite muddled up with it, you probably want, you could just sew all your Velcro on at once, couldn't you? But I think possibly to stop yourself getting muddled up, you might want to do a section at a time, just because else you might suddenly find you've got like a ton of Velcro and a ton of Velcro over here, and yeah.
So cut them all up into little pieces.
Absolutely, yes. So I'm going to start by I'm going to put the fuzzy bit onto, i.e. the soft bit,
The loops.
onto my, yes. I never know which bit's which.
The hook is the crispy bit.
Is the crispy bit.
And the loop is the fluffy bit.
Okay, so I'm going to put my loops or the fluffy bit onto the main panel.
Okay, can you just move that into the
the
middle? So you can choose either way, it doesn't matter, but just make sure whichever way you go, you stick to the same way, otherwise it'd be really confusing. So you can put your hooks on the base or the loops, but just make sure you stick to one way.
Absolutely. Okay.
So what do? Just pin them in the centre?
I'm going to pin it in the centre, and then my corresponding, I'm going to put my sunshine on here. I think I've lost my little backing for it, but that's fine.
So do you cut the...
So I cut out my backings to go
exactly
to the same.
size.
I've cut everything the same, except I haven't got, I've mislaid that one, but so it doesn't matter. There is lots of spare fabric, so you've got absolutely heaps, more than enough to cut them all out, cut all the backings out, have a little bit left over, you will have actually.
Right.
So, and that's going to go in the centre like that. I'm going to just stitch round the edge of those on my sewing machine. Nice and carefully. I've got a little bit of a tangle of pedals and leads down here. Hold on, that's it. You get it all set up and then somehow it isn't, is it? Right, so just along the...
yeah, I guess you need to do it by machine, don't you? Because it's really hard to sew this hook and loop tape on by hand. I've tried before.
Yeah,
and it's
I mean, you could, but it's going to take you a lot longer and it's going to be quite hard on the fingers, isn't it?
So if you cut out all of your pieces first and then use those to cut all your background pieces out, pieces,
yes.
Then sew all of this on.
Yes. So you could get it together quite quickly.
Yeah.
Or you could decide, actually, I'm going to take my leisure and today I'll do the days.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'll do the months. And
but it
just
is
do
a really
bit
good
at a
starting
time.
project if you want to make something with a child. It would be a really good introduction to sewing if it was supervised.
Definitely.
You can teach them about cutting out and sewing Velcro.
Absolutely. And it's all straight lines. Also, you know, there's nothing fiddly and curves. And you haven't really got to have any seam allowances. So they're not having to worry too much about lining things up in the right place.
I think there's such a pleasure as well to make something with a child that they can then use and they can hang on their wall and say they made it.
Absolutely.
It's a real achievement, isn't it?
It is.
Oh, Carol sent us a picture in. Has she made one? Oh, that's nice. So this is the one that Carol made.
Oh, that's pretty.
And she's made it with her grandchildren.
Oh. Oh, and I would pick the weather that I wanted it to be too, yeah.
I loved making this for our grandchildren. They're only 3 and 4, and they insisted on picking the weather they wanted to be rather than the actual weather. We had lots of sunny days. Oh, Carol, I'm with them on that.
Yeah,
I definitely
that's a great idea.
You should pick your own weather. So they just had sunny days. But it's lovely. So you can make this for a child and then they could have it in their bedroom. Or if you wanted, you could keep it in your house for when they come round. It's just a lovely thing. You imagine the grandchildren come running in. Oh, yeah, I want to do the weather chart. Who's going to do it today?
Really nice idea. Do you know what I could do with one? I never know what day it is. And at the moment, it's really Groundhog Day, don't you think?
Well, it is. I wake up in the mornings and I have absolutely no idea. It could be Tuesday, it could be Sunday. Absolutely no idea.
just going to trim that back.
And particularly the
down.
date. That's the other thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I never
I was
know.
thinking this morning, is it I had no idea what date it was. I knew it was sort of gone halfway through November, but that was as far as I could get. So
November's feeling quite a long month. It has to be
is.
said.
Although it just this year though seems to have whizzed past.
A quick year,
anyway.
but this bit at the moment seems quite
long.
Seems quite slow.
Be nice if you were counting off the days for something as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you could do that on the.
You could just sort of, it's just a way of keeping. But I loved these things. It's the sort of thing that children remember from their childhood as well, isn't it?
It is.
It's like the advent calendar that comes out every year. If you've made an advent calendar, they love having things like that. And this is just a really nice thing.
Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of wadding inside, just because it makes them nice and spongy. But now it's important. I have to think about this of which way round you're going to do it, so that you end up with the Velcro.
Yes, I guess you've got to go
I was
right
thinking
sides
about.
together.
I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about this, going, "Oh, which way round do we do to make sure that we end up with it right?" And I think as well that you actually need to just make sure your wadding is slightly smaller than your actual little square, just because else it makes it going to make it a bit easier to sew.
Whoa,
So I'm just going to trim that down a little
quarter of the stock has already been checked out, but at $22.99, that's actually really, really good price, isn't it?
Yes.
For a real, just an heirloom piece, isn't it?
So this is the way. So the way I'm going to work is this. So if you're not sure, think to yourself, this is how I want it to look when it's done. Okay, with the Velcro on the outside.
Yeah.
Remember that Velcro on the outside and the sunshine on the inside, and then that's got to, because obviously we're going to flip it over, aren't we? So, yeah, I was awake in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I don't want to do it the wrong way round.
So remember, you've got to put the wadding underneath, which seems wrong, but the wadding goes underneath.
And your machine will cope with that. It's fine, she said confidently. And we're just going to go around.
And as you're making 40 something of these, if you get one wrong, the other 40 won't be. We've also got a message from Susan. Oh, she made one for her daughter who's a primary school teacher.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? My daughter's just training to be a primary school teacher. Maybe I should make her one. She could take it in.
That would be great, wouldn't it? Right, so go round three sides. Don't sew it all up until you've turned it round. I'm going to snip my corners off.
So just round three sides?
Yeah, because you've got to be able to turn it round.
Yeah, and
don't get all excited and sew it up.
And I suppose for the numbers, because they're little, you need that whole side.
Yes.
Not just a turning gap.
Yes. Okay, so we'll do it round, push my corners out as much as possible.
Oh yeah, can you move?
A little bit of a, I need a little bit of a gadget just to push that out. So I'm going to use the end of my scissors, which probably is not a great idea, but,
but just
if I had a knitting needle handy, that's what I'd use, just to push the corners out as much as you can.
If only we sold knitting needles. You have to wait till 12 for the knitting needles.
Okay, and then we're going to tuck in the little edge. Now I think these would be, I mean you could hand stitch these closed, or I think it'd be quite nice to do a little sort of top stitch round each square to hold it all closed.
So you could top stitch round all the way round, and then that decorates it.
Exactly.
And holds the gap closed.
Exactly, and you can use a nice sort of contrast thread to do that. I'm all for a contrast top stitch thread. It always looks good. I'm just fiddling that in. There we go. Let's pop a pin in just to hold it. Okay.
So I imagine you get quite fast at these.
Yes, I think you would. Well, I mean, you could.
Well, you could either do it as a production line where you cut everything out, pin everything together, sew it, turn it all out, or you could just do it in bits, like you said.
Absolutely. Now, because it's quite thick, it doesn't want to
But
get
if you were doing it with a child, I mean, I guess
okay.
you could do the stitching bit, they could do the turning out, depending on their age. There would always be a task. So if you were doing it with a few grandchildren.
Absolutely. And, you know, lots of opportunities to learn how to pin things, which is always good. So I didn't like that crunchy bit at the end where I've got quite a lot of seams. I need to
Okay.
just, so when you find that, when it gets stuck on your sewing machine, because you've got a lot in there, just start a little bit further forward and you'll find you can usually get
and then
going.
you can...
I can just feel that's where all the seams meet, and it's just wanting to not get going on it.
So if you start on a bit where there's not so much bulk, it goes round.
It
That's
hopefully will be better. The other thing you can do, if it gets really stuck, so you know how a car tyre, if you get stuck, you wedge something under it. If you get something and it really won't go, pop a little bit of cardboard under the foot at the back,
Right.
and it'll bring that foot up again to the right level. And then when you get going, it'll like push it off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea, isn't it? Because sometimes you get to a point and it just won't, because there's just too much bulk underneath.
That's better. My corner's not brilliant on this one, but we'll go round anyway. And we've got going now. So I did contemplate putting it all together and then putting the Velcro on, but I decided it would be a little bit too thick to do that because it is lovely fleecy wadding, isn't it? And it might be a bit thick to go through the wadding and the backing and all the Velcro. You could run
but
into
also
problems.
you'd see the sewing on the front, wouldn't you?
You would. So that's why I decided Velcro at, it still doesn't like that little corner. I'm going to leave it there for now, just so I'm not wrestling it around. But
Good morning, Jennifer.
more time and energy.
She says it's freezing in
We'll get
St
it
Helens.
round.
Where's that? Is that near Liverpool? Cold and frosty in Derbyshire. Well, I bet Derbyshire's beautiful this
And
morning.
I still managed to do it the wrong way around, Rebecca. Look, the Velcro's
Funny.
So, as Rebecca said, I shan't do that again.
Yeah, you only
shall
do
I
it
now?
once. I think you need to put them right sides together.
I do.
So you have the pattern.
Do you know what? It's because it's 8 o'clock, not
It's
9
too
o'clock.
early.
I'm still asleep.
I know, but you will only do it once.
Oh, man. Right.
So you put the print and the Velcro together, right sides together, on top of the wadding. So if you think the Velcro and the picture need to be touching.
I did, and I thought about it so carefully and still did it the wrong way.
Okay, so Catherine's going to have a look at her little squares and work it out. So just to recap the bundle, just so you know exactly what you get for the $22.99. On the panel, you get this whole panel, which is exclusive to Sewing Street. On one side, right, half of the stock has already gone. When we did this last time, it sold out, but we've managed to bring it back. So if you do want to, I'm just going to move this over a bit. If you do want to buy it, I would pop it in your basket and check out, because we're halfway through the hour and half of the stock is gone. So on the panel, you get the actual calendar, but then you get all of these little pieces as well. So you get all of the days of the month, all of the months, January to December, luckily. Then all the days of the week, Monday to Sunday. Then you get the seasons, spring, summer, autumn and winter. And I love the little symbols they've got on. So for spring, you've got a watering can, bees, rabbit, flowers, daffodil. Summer, you've got a parasol, butterflies, boat, ice cream, bucket and spade, obviously. In autumn, leaves, the lovely little hedgehog and squirrel. It's really lovely. Winter, and you've got a snowman, hat and scarf and a robin. So say, you know, there's a special event coming up in a child's life, like a new baby being born, a new brother or sister. It's a really good way of counting down the times, and because, you know, particularly for younger children, it's hard for them to have a sort of a sense and perspective of time. So it's really nice that you can show them, well, when we get to this month, this is when it's going to happen. You know, and also remember, you can personalise this. So if you're making it for someone in particular, on the top of the panel it says what is the weather today, but you could embroider their name there. You could put their initials or their name in the middle of the sun or across the cloud. There's plenty of space on here to really personalise it. You could also personalise the squares as well. So if you wanted to embroider on top of them, what you could do before you construct it, if you want to add more detail to it, keep it on the panel, don't cut any of the pieces out. You could embroider over all of these details. So on the sunshine, you could just do little straight stitches around the edge and put French knots in the middle. All the little leaves on windy, I'm just going to move that up, you could embroider all of those. So once you start embroidering things and adding detail, you could even add, you know, small felt pieces. It really brings it to life. And all of the numbers, you could even embroider on those as well. Just do a simple chain stitch or a back stitch across them, and it gives it sort of that 3D appeal. We've had a message from Julie, and she bought one today, and she's a TA in a school. And she works with SEN children. It's ideal, isn't it? Because it is a really lovely visual, tactile learning aid, as well as being fun as well. But, you know, remember, you can keep it as simple as you want by just constructing it like this. Or you can spend a bit more time and you can embellish it and add more to it. Depends what you want to do, really. But I think if I was making it for just one child or a family, I would embroider. I'd put their name on, or you could put the name of the family across the top. There's so much space for it. So in the kit, you get the printed panel. You also get 1 metre of this lovely pinky purpley fuchsia fabric. But it's not that bright pink fuchsia. It's the sort of the purpley colour that they normally get on the skirts. I always used to think that fuchsias were fairies, but with lots of legs. So I used to pick the fuchsias off my auntie's fuchsia plant and pull all the legs off until there were just 2, and then they'd look like fairies. But the skirt on the bottom of the fuchsias, because they have about 10 stamens that come out the bottom, if you pull all of them off, they only have 2 left. But the skirts on the bottom of the fuchsias, that's the colour. So you get a whole metre of that, and this is enough because all these little pieces need backing, and you've got to back the back of the weather chart, and there's enough for binding it and putting hanging loops. You also get a metre of the hook and loop tape, because you put the hooks onto one and the loop on the other. And this is all it's all tangled up. So you cut all of these out first and sew them on, and then you also get a whole metre of wadding. So that's everything you need bar the thread. And as Catherine said, you know, you can use a matching thread if you want, but it's really nice to use a contrast for the top stitch around the edge. Just adds it a bit extra. So for £22.99, you get everything you need to make this. So Catherine, have we gone back to what's the formula?
So I've managed to whiz one up, yes. So I have got that right, and I've got the Velcro on the back now.
So excellent. Is it pattern side, Velcro side together?
It was wadding, Velcro facing up, pattern facing down.
Yes.
There we go. So that sticks on. Good. Okay. So you've made 45 of those.
Okay.
You've got them all there, looking beautiful, because you've spent a lot more time than me, and they're looking really neat, and you haven't done it wrong at all. Okay.
You're bound to do one wrong. Everyone's going to do one wrong. You've got to accept it, and then maybe another one. And by the time you get to the third, you go, I've got this now.
Yes. Okay. So the hanging loops. If you cut yourself a nice rectangle, 3.5 inches by 8 inches is what I did, and I pressed all the edges in. And
so I guess if you make hanging loops, then you can put it on a dowel. So
I thought that would be nice, yeah.
Or you could just draw and pin it to the wall if you didn't want to. But
this
is nicer, isn't it? It's nice to do.
The other thing you can do is if you've backed it, you can add little sort of corners on the back, can't you, to hook over something. But then you've got to have things the right width.
But yeah, if you put a dowel to the top, you could hang it on the wall. But it's not too wide. You could hang it on the back of a door.
Definitely.
So if you had a hook on the top of the door, you could then put the dowel in.
Or on the end of a bed for a child is quite good. True. If you've got, you know, the little bits you can hang up. Anyway, I tend to press in like this and press it all together and then top stitch round, rather than trying to do it the other way and then trying to turn it round. I just find it's less fiddly.
Yes, that's true too. Because if you're going to...
So... press that all in.
Right, we've got 10 minutes.
Okay, so we'll just talk about the construction when you've made all your little bits. So you can make, I did 3 on mine. 3 of those, press them all in, top stitch round. Okay, then.
So once you've made those and
Once
you've sewn all your Velcro on and you've made all your little pieces,
yes.
then
we've got our backing fabric.
And is there enough wadding to wad all the little pieces and?
There's loads,
okay.
Absolutely loads in the kit.
Right, yeah. So you can, you don't have to worry too much about cutting economically.
No. Okay, so I have cut my backing slightly bigger and my wadding slightly bigger.
What's slightly?
Do you know what? I'm a devil for not measuring things. So let's go about that much. That's about 1 inch, and I've probably gone 2 inches overlapping here.
So you've cut the wadding about 2 inches bigger all round, and the backing fabric about 4.
Yes.
So as long as it's just a bit bigger.
Yes. So that I did a nice little turned over corner
so
binding
that's why
like
that's bigger,
that, which
right.
is why it's bigger.
Okay.
If you wanted to, you could cut it. Well, even if you're going to do a bound edge, still cut it slightly bigger, because when you quilt it, you're going to draw it in a bit. So when you've got it all like this, you can quilt it together around these edge panels.
Did you tack it together, or did you
I didn't
just
tack
pin
it together, I pinned it. I would recommend the old adhesive.
Oh, the
actually,
basting spray.
as a nice way to do it, because it's not too big a bit, is it?
Okay. So what do you do? Do you
way.
spray?
Shall we do it?
Which one do you spray?
So I'm going to spray my.
So this spray, the 505, is available on the website. So you spray the backing. If you've never used this before.
Oh, do you know what? I'd not used it before coming on Sewing Street, and now I love it and I use it loads.
Do you have to put something down on the surface? Does it get things sticky?
Technically, yes. I'd put some newspaper down or something like that.
But normally it would get things sticky.
Yes, don't do it straight onto your cutting board. It's weird because you can move things around, but it's tacky.
Okay, so it's not like stuck forever.
No. If you put it on and you've not got it, you can see I can lift that up and pop it back again, but it just holds it in place enough that you don't have to tack it. So I have become a little bit of a fan of this.
So it's the fabric, not the wad. Can you spray the wadding, or is it always the fabric?
Well, I always spray the fabric.
Okay.
I have to say. There we go. You can see it doesn't take a lot. It certainly makes it easier for quilting, because you haven't got to spend quite a long time tacking. You haven't got to spend a long time.
Press it out flat with your hands.
I mean, I've not tried a really massive quilt with it, I have to say. I'm a bit daunted at the thought of doing a massive quilt, but certainly for projects like this, it's brilliant.
Because I think I've seen where people roll it back and they spray one bit at a time and then unroll it and then move on to the next bit. But
yeah,
quicker than tacking.
We'll quickly quilt round one of them, and then I'll show you how to do the edge.
So you quilt. So I guess you can do as much or as little quilting as you want. You've quilted around the edge of all of the squares.
There was quite a nice. I thought they really lent themselves to it. These little edges. You could do them in different colours, couldn't you? You could get rainbow colours on them, which would be nice.
Or you could just do an all-over quilting pattern.
You could. Just obviously don't go over your Velcro bits. Leave those.
No, that would be a bit odd.
But again, you know, really nice for beginners if you're not really a quilter, or if you've got children and you want them to have a go at quilting. It's a very manageable size and it's all straight. And
it comes around your machine quite easily.
It does.
It is quite a good way of practicing though, isn't it?
Okay, so we'll imagine we've done that all over. So then at this point, if you want to do a bias binding edge, you would trim it all down.
Right, so so if you want to bind it
right down to the edge.
Cut it level.
If you're going to do just a little turned one, press it in and then just turn it back like this. I like doing these kind of borders, I have to say.
Stuart says he loves this panel. What a great idea. It is a great idea, isn't it? I think it's really nice in the digital electronic age to make something that's just handmade, nice heirloom piece for the children. I think it's lovely. It just feels nice. I quite like one myself, actually. I might find the one that I made the children, get it out of the loft. It's probably gone a bit faded now. We've got another question from Anne on the bottom. Morning, ladies. Great demo. Got the kit for my granddaughter and can't wait to get started. Could I use invisible thread? Yes, of course you could use invisible thread. If you don't want the quilting to show up, then use invisible thread, because the whole point of quilting is that it's not just the decorative stitching, it's the fact it gives it that 3D appearance. It makes some bits go down and some bit raise up, so it looks slightly embossed. So if you wanted to just have the embossed look rather than the thread, then use invisible thread.
Shall I show you how to do a nice little mitered corner?
So you fold all the edges over. So you haven't trimmed the wadding then?
I haven't, just because I think I'd cut it fairly accurately.
Okay, so you always have the wadding a bit bigger when you do this?
A little bit bigger, because it gives you just a wadding right up to the edge.
Nice.
Yes, and I've chosen to have a little bit wider border on it, you see, because I think it's such a pretty colour. It's nice to have it on the front.
Oh, no,
you could have a much narrower one. It's your choice, really, with this.
But by doing it that way and cutting the wadding bigger, it just extends it without having to put a border on.
Absolutely.
That's very clever.
Yes. Okay, so you've got your sides pinned.
Right, so and just move into the centre. That's
so this is when I did this with Debbie, and she was like, "Oh, I've never seen it done this way before, but this is my way." I put it up like this, and then snip it off about halfway, and then you have to be brave.
And I'll be going, "Oh no, what have I done now?"
A little bit cautious that you don't cut too much off, and then you just tuck it in.
Okay.
And it makes a really nice, neat corner.
That's a really quick way of mitering a corner.
It is, isn't it?
It's really quick.
It seems to always work.
It does. No, it does. It looks really neat.
Right. So if I just finish pinning that round, do the other ones. I was just thinking it's quite a nice, quick way of doing a really quite effective border. This as well.
It is nice.
You know, I really like bound borders.
Yeah, but sometimes when you want something a bit quicker, but also if you want to make it bigger, but you don't want to do the piecing and adding borders on, this is a really good way. So you just cut the wadding to the finished size that you want it to be, and then make sure the binding is big, the backing is bigger than that.
Absolutely.
Snip the corner off. I've got another message. Everyone's messages this morning. Message from Jennifer. Hi again. What is the spray glue called? Well, it's called the 505. It's on the website. Have we got a code there for it? So if you go onto the website and you put in the search 505, it will come up and then you can get it. So it's just the basting spray.
Okay, and somehow I love it when you get your border going, because sometimes it then just looks so neat, doesn't it?
It does, really neat. It's lovely. Well, this is a lovely colour to go with it as well, isn't it?
It is. It just makes those nice
fairy skirts on fuchsia plants.
I'd call it damson, wouldn't you? This colour, when we were debating, I think it's damson. Maybe.
Damson. Okay, it could be damson. Yes.
Colour's quite a subjective thing.
Yeah, I'm not very good at colours. I always think I'm not really sure, because it is a sort of a pink and a purple all together at the same time.
It is.
Other than those fairy fuchsias. That's the only thing I can think of. But it does go beautifully with this. It's a really nice bright, but not primary.
No, it's nice. It's because it isn't, it's bright and cheerful without being childish.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
But then that's the colours that are in here, because you've got jade, lime, mustard, burgundy, like a pale apple green. There's some really nice colours without it being red, yellow, blue and green. It's the sort of more muted versions of those.
Okay, so I've got myself all pinned round. Now, when I finished my one off, I actually stitched my hanging things in at the same time. So
okay.
I got those and pinned them in so that when I stitched round the back, I was catching those as well.
Okay, nice.
And then it made it nice and neat. I've prepped that one so we can have a quick whiz round. And I went round both. I mean, if you were doing it as a quilt, you'd hand stitch this, but I think this you can do a nice couple of rows of sewing
Yeah, yeah.
You could use some fancy stitches on your machine if you wanted to. Lots of people have got lovely fancy stitches that don't always get used that much.
I know,
but
that's the
actually you
problem
could
with
really
them, isn't
use
it?
them on this and have a bit of fun. And if you're doing it with children, children love the fancy stitches. They love
Well,
to
you
play
could
with
use
them.
those for the quilting, couldn't you? You could do all the
Absolutely.
fancy stitches and go all around the edge of it, all those sort of little flowers and hearts and things.
So we'll whisk round the edge.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left. Where's the hour gone? Where's the hour gone? It's because we're talking about the weather. I bet it's really bright and sunny out there now.
I shall go and have a little look
Yes.
before I'm back again.
Yes, but before you come back at 10, could you go and check the weather? We should keep one of these on the wall.
Yes.
We've got a message from Amanda. Morning, Rebecca. Morning, Catherine. Oh, feeling very Monday-ish. What does that mean? Excited. I like Mondays, actually. I like Mondays. It's like I like first thing in the morning. It's the beginning, isn't it? The whole week holds amazing opportunities. I'd never liked a Sunday.
I don't mind Mondays. I don't
like
Mondays.
Sundays. I find Sundays just a bit like... No. Well, I do like a Monday. And Christine's messaged him. Where do I keep the extra days and months? Well, they stay on the chart.
On these, yeah. You're going to put Velcro on all of those.
So there's a space on all of the whole chart to put everything in. So you keep them stuck there all the time, and there's enough space for all of them, and then you take that one off and you put it on. Yes, and I'm sure your grandson will absolutely love it. But where are you going to put it? Are you going to give it to him to put in his bedroom, or does it stay at your house? And will you be doing it every morning when he doesn't pop round?
Oh, you would have to.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, but that'd be so exciting for them, wouldn't it, when they come round and go, oh, I want to do the weather chart. So it's very quick, isn't it? So you just
the
whiz
actual
round the
putting it
edges.
together at the end is really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bit that's going to take a bit of time is doing all your little pieces. But I think you're going to have a bit of fun with
But
that.
I guess
really.
you can put together the whole thing and then do all the pieces afterwards, whichever order you want. As long as you remember to sew the Velcro
Just remember
on.
to sew all your Velcro on.
Before, sew
Yeah.
the Velcro onto the background before you start assembling it. Because you don't really want to sew the Velcro onto it once it's quilted, once it's layered.
Not really. I think it's going to be quite tricky to do because
Yeah.
there's so many bits. Really, I think you just want to keep your quilting down to the gap.
Yeah, you do need
sort
to
of little,
sew
little squares.
The hooky loopy bit.
Yes, yes.
And you can do it either way. Doesn't matter whether you've got the hooks on here and the loops on there. It can be either way, but just make sure you do it the same way for everyone. Otherwise, you will really, really get mixed up.
Yes. Time to go around the end a bit or not really?
No, that's
okay,
the end
no worries.
of it.
So you'd go
look at the time.
round again. All your Velcro, stick all your lovely things on. Where was the one I made? There we go. It is spring.
Yeah.
Fast forward, it's spring.
Fast forward to spring. And there we go. Well, that's lovely. Thank you so much, Catherine. That's really nice. So we'll see you again at 10 o'clock for the Riley Blake quilt.
Absolutely.
Have a nice break for an hour. Go and tell us what the weather's like.
I will.
So we'll just have a quick recap of the bundles. We've got another few minutes. So in the kit, $22.99, you get the printed panel, which is exclusive to Sewing Street. You can't buy this anywhere else. On the panel is the background of the whole calendar, all printed. You just need to cut out to the outline. Or if you want to add a seam allowance, there is a little bit extra if you want to do it where you bag it out. That's up to you. You've also got all the months, days of the week, all the weather, all the seasons, and all the numbers. And that's everything you need. Remember, I said earlier, you can just make it as it is, but if you want to add a little bit of extra, if you want to do some embroidery or some applique, or you want to personalise it, do that before you cut anything out. Particularly if you want to do some embroidery, it's best to put it in an embroidery hoop to keep it nice and taut while you're stitching. So do it before you cut anything out. But it's a really nice way if you just want to put something extra on. because everything is printed here, you don't have to sort of think about transfers or pattern. It's already there for you. You also get a whole metre of this lovely pinky purple fabric, pure cotton as well. And there's enough in there to back all of the little pieces and to back the quilt, the calendar itself, and to do the binding and to make the hanging loop. There's more than enough. So you haven't got to be too careful with your cutting. Although if you are, then you can have a little bit left over to keep in your stash, because it is a really lovely colour. You get a metre of wadding, which is 40 by 40 inches, or metre by metre square, or just, actually it's more than a yard because it's 40 inches, so it's 39, I think. 39 inches is a metre. It's about that size, but there is more than enough to put them all in the little pieces and to back that. And you get a whole metre of the hook and loop tape. So remember, when you cut them out, you need about 3/4 of an inch for each one square. Cut them, stick it all together, because they sort of separate all of their own. They have a mind of their own, these pieces. So make sure they're all stuck together neatly all the way down, and then cut them all out, and then you've got the right piece to put on the right one. And make sure that you sew one side to the calendar and the other side to the backing fabric, which you're going to use from the pinky purple fabric. So that is so well done if you've got this bundle. It is exclusive to us, and we are very low on stock at the moment, so I would suggest if you want it, pop it in your basket, check out. Remember, you can check out as many times as you want in a day. It's only one P&P, $3.95, and once you've checked out, that's it for the day. You don't have to pay it again. So we have got a few left of the early bird, so I just want to do a quick recap on that. It's this really pretty little thread cutter that's brand new today. You can hang it around your neck, so you can keep it with you all the time when you're sewing, and it's just really, really handy if you want to just cut your thread. It's got these little blades and it just cuts them like that. So I'll just take it off and show you. I have to be careful because it knocks out everything. Put it on the table. There we go. So if you want, it's got blades all the way round, so you can cut it from any angle, but they're very sharp. They cut the thread, but I have tried, and because they're hidden inside these petals, you can't actually cut yourself. Because I thought, well, I need to just make sure. I tried that for you, so you don't cut yourself. But also, oh, it is detachable as well, remember. So if you don't want to hang it around your neck, you just squeeze these little things, and then it's separate. So you can just have that on by your machine if you want. So you can take off that little loop if you don't want it on there. But inside as well, if we pull this out, is a needle threader, which really doesn't show up very well on the table, but it's lovely. So you just poke the wire loop through the eye of the needle, thread the thread through the loop, which is much easier to get through than the eye of a needle, pull it through, and it's done. But it's just a great little stocking filler. Lots of you who have bought it. I've bought several, so I'm hoping that you've bought one for you and then one as a gift for everyone else. But this is the first time we've had it on air. It's only $4.99, so a great price. Right, so we're going to have a couple of minutes break, and then I will be back at 9 o'clock. Gosh, nearly 9 o'clock already. Embroidery. We're going to talk all things embroidery, so I will see you in a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Debbie Shaw, and as a professional sewer, I really know how important it is to use a high quality thread. Well, you think about it. You spend a lot of money on your sewing machine, you'll spend a lot of money on fabric, and you'll spend a lot of time sewing. So why let your thread let you down? I know a lot of our designers and customers prefer to use Aurifil thread. Now, this is a family business. It was established in 1983, and they're based just outside Milan in Italy. They produce superior quality threads for domestic and professional sewers alike, and they've achieved worldwide success with quilters, sewers, embroiderers, and textile artists who all appreciate the versatility and the strength of these threads. It's all made from Egyptian cotton, which is grown just at the side of the River Nile, and Aurifil only use the long staple threads, which gives their thread that strength. Each one of these threads goes through 15 steps before it even gets onto a spool and then comes to you to use in your sewing projects. Now at Sewing Street, we've collaborated with Orifil and we've brought you 2 collections of threads. So we have the Quilters collection, and these are exclusive to Sewing Street. We've done a lot of research with quilters, and these are the colours that you prefer to use. So we put a whole collection together for you. The second collection is the Essential collection. So this is for the homemakers, for the bag makers, for the craft sewers, for the dressmakers. And again, these have been proven to be the most popular colours that you're going to use. So if you want your projects to last longer and your seams to be stronger, invest in some quality thread.
Hello, I'm Katherine Wright. I'm from Leicestershire Craft Centre, which is based in Market Harborough. I love all kinds of sewing, but probably my favourite thing to do is dressmaking. But I also teach patchwork and free motion embroidery and anything to do with textiles really. I love to have a go at felting and crochet and knitting and, oh, you name it, I'll have a go at it. So I started sewing when I was 7. My mum taught me to sew, and the very first thing I made was an apron. But I'm a terribly impatient person. I always just want to get on with the project. So I didn't wait for her to help me cut it out, and I cut it out myself, and I didn't know you had to have a seam allowance. So I made the world's smallest apron, and my mum still has it somewhere. Sewing tips, I would say, I teach a lot of people to sew, especially beginners, and I would say don't get disheartened. Take your learning journey slowly. Don't expect to suddenly make a ball gown or suddenly make a king-size quilt. Build up your skills, you know, slowly. And I would also say the iron is your friend. Use your iron a lot. It makes your sewing look so much better. It helps you get things in place where you want it before you sew, and is a really handy thing to have.
Welcome back. Hope you've managed to get yourself a quick cup of tea and come back and join us for embroidery. I love embroidery. I really like embroidery, particularly this time of year, because it's a really lovely thing to do when you're sat by the fire in front of the telly, and it's it doesn't require masses of years of experience and skill. It's something that you can start off where you've only learned one stitch, because the great thing is you can just learn one stitch and you can do so much with it. But then as your confidence grows and as you get better at working with the needle and thread, you can then just increase the stitches. You can add in another and another and another until you make beautiful pieces. It's also really transferable. You can use embroidery to make pictures, wall art, cushions, but you can also use it to decorate clothing. So once you've learnt a little bit of embroidery, you can add lots and lots of things here. So let me just show you this, and then I'll show you the panel to make this. Isn't that lovely? When I make with my hands, I give of my heart. And on here, we've got such a mixture of stitches. We've got back stitch round here. We've got satin stitch. There's French knots. There's a lovely whipped back stitch here that goes around the heart, and French knots for the blossom, and back stitch around there. But you know, there's only just a few stitches on that, and you've made a really beautiful piece, and it's so personal as well. Although it's nice to be sort of told what you should and shouldn't do, so you don't have to think about colours, but you can really change things up. This has been stitched in really sort of bright, modern, contemporary colours, but you could stitch something like this in whatever colour you want. You could keep it very neutral, you could make it monochrome, you can make it bright and primary, and that's what I really like about it. But it's also very sort of put downable. So if you just want to do embroidery for half an hour, you can put it down. And then when you come back to it, it doesn't undo. It doesn't require machinery. You can just roll it up, put it in a bag, get it back out again. But it's one of those put downable tasks, which is a really nice craft, because you can then sort of dip in and out as you want to. And I think embroidery is something that appeals to so many people. I think it may be because it's quite nostalgic, but it really has that lovely handmade feel. So for this beautiful hoop, we actually have a printed panel. Right, making sure I've got the right one. No, I'm not going to have that one. I want this one. So 48, because we've got two just to confuse you. So I'll just move the heart. So with this panel, which is exclusive to Sewing Street, let me just move that a minute so you can actually see it. So for £9.99, there are 3 embroidery hoops here. Now, so you've got a small, a medium and a large. So the big one is the one that I've showed you here, the one I make. If I put it next to it, you can see when I make with my hands again, and there it is there. So as you can see, all the outlines are pre-printed onto the fabric. They're printed in quite a light grey colour. They're dark enough for you to be able to see, but not so dark that you can't cover them with your stitches. They won't wash out. They're not sort of transfer ink. They're permanent, but they're quite light, so it's easy enough to stitch round them and stitch over them. There's also the medium size. I love this one. Let me just move those. And this says, "Stitch your stress away." You have to get in very close because it's been printed. It's printed specially for embroidery. This isn't just a piece of art. Well, I suppose you could just buy it like that and not touch it at all. It is dark. It's dark enough to see, but it's got scissors, needles, sewing thread, buttons. You can stitch all over it. It's even got crosses all the way around the edge, so you can stitch just a cross stitch over these. So this is ideal for somebody who's new to embroidery and just wants it to be simple. You haven't got to go through all the hassle of transfer, of working at, using different transfer method. It's already printed. You've got the inner circle, and this is the edge of the embroidery hoop. But the outer circle, if you cut round that once you've embroidered, if you're going to do this, it's best to keep them on the panel before you embroider them. You cut round the outer one, and then that's enough fabric for you to be able to gather it round the back of the hoop afterwards. So with this one, they've gathered it and stuck it on, or you can just use a running stitch on it. But also, if you do want to stitch one of them, then there is enough fabric if you cut round the outer circle to actually put it in the hoop. And then you can make it up as you go along. You can choose all the colours before you start, or you can just think, well, I'll stitch in that colour. And then there's the little one here, and that one says make, do and mend. And it's got a really nice design round the edge. It's got a lovely leaf design, so this really suits using lazy daisy stitches for the leaves, and then you could use a back stitch or a stem stitch for the stems around. And then for the words, you could make it very, very fine and use a tiny satin stitch, or you could use back stitches. There's a lot of different stitches you could use here, but as I said, it's one of those things, if you're very new to embroidery and you've only learned a couple of stitches, you only need a couple of stitches. But if you want to progress and you want to try different things, it's just a really simple way. And on here, if you bought this panel, you want to make these for gifts for people, you've got 3 gifts here for £9.99. And it's just a really lovely thing. And I always, embroidery is nice any time of the year, but because it's very much, you can sit in front of the TV, you're not having to sit in a separate room on the sewing machine. It's a lovely task. And if you've never tried embroidery before, this is a really great way to start. We've also got a nether panel for you. So let me just get that one out. So on this panel, again, we've got the small, the medium and the large. So the large one says, beautiful things come together one stitch at a time. Now, if you want, so if you, say you like red work or black work either, if you like red work, just work it in a red thread. The best thing to use for that is either stranded cotton or cotton perle works really well. So if you like red work, just do it in red, or use say maybe 5 different shades of red or 5 different shades of blue. So this hoop, as if by magic, fits perfectly. This is the 30 centimetre 12-inch hoop, and that fits exactly. That's the same size as that one, because these have been designed to fit into standard size hoops. But this is if you look, it's just a really on-trend thing at the moment, is hoop art. So although the hoop is used to stitch in, this is great. So you it's best to always stretch your fabric in a hoop. Some people don't like to. When I embroider, I always do, because it means it gives me a bit of leeway. Then I don't have to concentrate too much on not pulling my threads too tight, because if it's mounted in a hoop, it doesn't matter how tight you pull it, it will sit evenly. But once you've finished it, you've also got it to hang up. So, with this hoop here, you can hang it up. If you only need a tiny little nail on the wall, and there it is. You could put a piece of ribbon through the top of it, and that's your instant frame. And I think often it's something that puts people off making pictures, because they think, oh, well, I've got to pay to have it framed. But with this, you can just hang up. You can leave it like that, or on the back you can see this is just stitched down. But what you could do is cut a circle of felt to the same, use the hoop as a template to cut round it, and then you can just slip stitch that around the edge, and you've even got it with a neat back as well. So that's the big one with the 12-inch hoop. If we move on to the medium size one, which says sewing is therapy, I've got to match the hoops now. No, it's not that one. And these are the same sizes whichever panel you buy. The circles are the same. So this one is an 8-inch 20 centimetre hoop, and that fits perfectly. It's got a really old-fashioned sewing machine and some really lovely, just a floral sprig round the edge. Really pretty. So you could do this one. You could really work some satin stitch on that. But, you don't have to use it in a hoop. You could put it into a cushion. You could sew that into the centre. You could embroider this and then cut it out just a little bit bigger, turn the edges under, or cut it out exactly it is and work a zigzag stitch. So wouldn't that look lovely if you sewed this, if you sewed the machine and put it in a nice black and did red work on here, you could just sew that onto a lovely, even a pre-made cushion cover, pre-bought one if you didn't want to make one. But that's a beautiful thing, and have that in your sewing room. And then we've got the little one that says sew on and so forth. And that one fits in, let me just check, in the 4-inch hoop. But that's a really lovely gift, isn't it? But what you could do with all three of these, if you sewed them all together, if you embroidered them all, and then you put them all in the hoops, so if you buy the hoops as well, you could hang them all on the wall together, because I always think it looks nice to hang things together in threes, and particularly because they're all different sizes. So if you buy the one panel, then you need the 4-inch hoop, the 8-inch hoop and the 12-inch hoop. You've immediately got 3 finished projects, and then you just need the thread. So let's just go through the hoops just in case you want to get them all together. So the 12-inch hoop, which is for the largest size. Oh, no, that's the 12-inch hoop. Picking up the wrong ones. The 12-inch hoop, that one is on the screen at the moment. That's £6.49. The next size, the next one is the 8-inch hoop. So we've got the 12-inch, the 8-inch, and the 8-inch is coming on screen at the moment. That's £5.49. And then finally, we've got the 4-inch that fits in the middle. And then that's £3.99. And remember, this is the other panel that we started with, and those 3 hoops, they will fit onto these as well. Let me just take the hoops out from underneath. So we've got the biggest one, which is the one I showed you first, that says, when I make with my hands, I give of my heart. That fits in the 12-inch hoop. But again, you don't have to use the hoops. You can use them just to put in the centre of things, use them as a plique on top of something else. The medium size one that fits in the 8-inch hoop, that says, stitch your stress away. Which it does, doesn't it? That's what we do. We stitch your stress away. But isn't it a nice little gift? So you could buy this panel, buy the 3 hoops, you've got 3 presents. And you've got the joy of stitching them. But also, if you know somebody who would like to try embroidery, who hasn't done it before, if you buy the panel and buy them the 3 hoops, that gives a month's worth of stitching pleasure. And then the little one that says make, do and mend, that uses the little 4-inch hoop. Isn't that lovely? But you imagine when that's embroidered and you've chosen your own colours. You chose all your colours and you've put them in there. It just suddenly comes to life, doesn't it? But you have a look at hoop art, put into Pinterest hoop art, and you see all the beautiful things that people are doing. It really is just the loveliest thing. And it's just a simple, cheap way, because it often does put you off, doesn't it? It's the framing of it. But you know, that you use the hoop to sew with, and then you use the hoop for framing it as well. Beautiful. Beautiful. So there's lots of you with both of them in the basket. So on this one, this is the panel that says, when I make with my hands, I give of my heart. Stitch your stress away and make, do and mend. And then the other panel is beautiful things come together one stitch at a time. Sewing is therapy, so on and so forth. Do you know, I think it'd be really hard to decide between the two. So the one that I showed you first with the beautiful things come together one stitch at a time, over half of these have already sold. So if you want this one, you need to check this one out. It is very difficult to decide. I really like both of them. I think it'd be quite nice if you can't decide, get them both. Get them both. Because you know what'll happen? You'll choose the wrong one. It's really difficult, isn't it? And then remember, this is from the other one. When I make with my hands, I give of my heart. I mean, that is just beautiful, isn't it? It's so lovely, isn't it? And it looks like you've drawn it yourself. But you know, these are the colours that have been chosen, but you can choose colours that go with your decor. You can keep it completely monochrome. You could do it in shades of black, white and grey. You go very neutral. Or you could do all the lettering, not in black, but do it in a charcoal, because I think it looks a bit more natural. If you ever want to do lettering, a very deep charcoal is much better than a black. It's just a little bit softer, but it looks like handwriting. And then you could add all the flowers and the leaves and everything around the edge, put those all in the colours. Or you can do it like this and make it very bright. You can make it very primary. You could keep it very soft and just use teals and dusty pinks. There's just so many options, but the lovely thing is it's yours. You can do whatever you like with it. You could, in the heart at the bottom, you could put initials or someone's name. So in the little heart here, you could put people's initials and names. And if you want to personalise it, just take maybe a heat erasable pen. That's what I always use for my embroidery. Write on it what you want. Write someone's name, write their initials, and then if you like it, you can embroider over it. If you don't like it, just quickly press it and get rid of it. But you can, and that's the best way to personalise anything. But I think this is or you could even put the year, put a date in there. But it would, I think, even as a cushion, I think it would be lovely. It's the sort of thing, if you bought one of the panels or both of them, you could make one as a piece of wall art, you could have one as a cushion, you could even make the little one into a coaster. If you what I would do with it, I would embroider it and then put some felt on the back and sew them together. And then if you got some Eau-de Coat, which I think we still have in stock, and then you painted that on top, then that would waterproof it and you could use it as a coaster. Where is the Eau-de Coat? Sorry. Oh, we have got Eau-de Coat in the next hour, actually. At 11 o'clock, not the next hour, at 11 o'clock, which is, we'll talk about it at 11, but it's something that you paint on and it makes it waterproof. But obviously anyone who embroiders knows how great it is to have it already transferred, because you haven't got to bother you doing it yourself. If you're new to embroidery, this makes life really simple. But isn't it lovely, because it's using all of those really nice phrases and sayings. But it really is, make your mind up time. Which one do you want? But if you can't decide, just get them both, because if you're anything like me, you always end up thinking, oh, I chose the wrong one, wish I'd had the other one. Or I would have liked the other one. Or someone will see that and go, oh, I'd like one of those. Just get both. They're actually very good value. If you buy a kit, with everything you need in. They're more expensive than this, so they're extremely good value. And they have been designed specially with embroiderers in mind. They have been done in the right shade of grey, so that it's just dark enough to see, but light enough so that your threads will be able to cover it, because it's not wash out, it's permanent, like most embroidery designs when they're printed. So, oh, I've got some lovely books. Lovely, lovely books here. Really like this one. Simply stitched with embroidery. Create artful motifs for purses and more. So there is so much inside this book. It's very beautiful, and it's beautifully photographed, which I think is always really important. There's lots of pictures, all the different motifs that you can make. That's really nice. Very, very classy, isn't it? And I like that. What I like about this is there's this purse. They've shown what it looks like stitched on a pale blue, but also a black. And they've actually used exactly the same colours of threads in both of them. But don't they look completely different? This is really pretty. What a love, that purse is lovely. Inspired by a Scandinavian summer. And again, they've given you two backgrounds so you can see what they look like. I love this. Can you imagine? I can imagine seeing this in a real boutique store. I mean, it would cost lots, a serious amount of money, something like that. But isn't this lovely? It's got toadstools and bees and flowers and butterflies. These are absolutely stunning. I love the lemons. And that one, I presume it's beetroot. Lemons and beetroot purses. And we've got cats and people. I've not actually seen anything quite like this before. There's a real style, a set style to every single piece that is just stunning. But you know, you don't have to use these for bags and purses. You can use these motifs for anything. Look at the flamingos. You imagine embroidering those around the bottom of your jeans. I'd love that. You have all these little flamingos standing on one leg. So you've got, because you've got all the patterns, I'll get to that in a minute, at the back. But they're just giving you ideas of what you can do with them. But it's just the style of them. They're very, very unusual. I love these flowers. Dandelions, they're really pretty. And just that little motif. So they've shown it here on a purse. But you could also, this looks like what it would look like if you put it into an embroidery hoop. Another one, this is just outline embroidery. But look at that. That looks, I like this way, the way that they've done this one. So you've got blue with the blue background with the white, and white with the blue embroidery on the white background. But all of these things, but I think it's nice, isn't it? Most books always start with the tools and materials, but this book has done it the other way around. It's almost like, right, I'm going to inspire you first. I'm going to get you into embroidery, and then we'll cover how to do it. So it goes through all the different purse clasps you need, all the fabric, and then a lovely embroidery stitch guide. And this is quite unusual. You don't normally see this in a stitch guide, but it's actually really helpful. So it says 1 out, 2 in. So it's really easy. You don't even need to read the words of it. 1 out, 2 in. 1 out, 2 in, 3 out for running stitch. So this just shows you simple. I mean, you know, there's just a handful of stitches there, and that's all you need to be able to do this. Then it goes through all the how to transfer, how to make a purse, which is actually really useful because these clasp purses can be tricky if you don't know what you're doing, but they show you exactly even how to line it and how to glue it and put it all in, pom-poms. Then we've got all the templates. These are full size, which is really important, isn't it? And it tells you, I mean, they've given you the thread numbers of what thread that they've used. I missed that one. Feathers shown on page 13. How did I miss that one? Because that's really nice, isn't it? There it is. Look at the feathers. Oh, I love those. That's lovely. But these would look beautiful on clothing as well. So if you had anything, even like a denim dress or a denim pinafore, or even like a white cotton shirt, these would look stunning embroidered onto them. I like the feathers. I don't know how I missed that. So let's go back to the back again. So all of the different templates are all here. They're all full size. It explains exactly how you do it. I mean, there's a lot of material in here. love the boys and girls. Wouldn't that make a lovely family print? So you could sew this, you could be your own family. Because what you can do is you could take each person, but you could move them around, couldn't you? So you could make them different sizes or put them, and then you could embroider their names underneath them as well. How to make all the different purses, how to make the pouches. But in the back, we have got the pattern sheet, which is attached. But this is all the patterns you need to make all of the purses in here and all the designs. So it's got all of the outlines. I'm just wondering whether I can, oh yeah, I can. Oh, hooray. So in the instructions, it was explaining to you about how to cut out. So if you want to just embroider them, the templates are inside, but if you want to use the patterns to actually make the purses, you've got these here. So you can trace this onto your fabric, trace the embroidery design, but you could also trace the outline, then work all in the embroidery, and when it's finished, then you can cut it out. And it explains the seam allowance isn't included, which is great because then you can choose whichever you want, but just remember to add it on before you cut it out. But isn't that lovely that it's all on there and they're full size, so you don't have to do any enlarging. It's a very, very comprehensive book. I had not seen anything quite like this style before. All the embroidery books, this really is one that I would really love to own. And I've been embroidering for quite a while. I've worked on embroidery magazines. I love embroidery, but that is really something quite special. Lovely. So which one should we do next? I've got loads of them. I've got thread doodling and doodle stitching. We launched this book on air a few months ago. It was really popular. The reusable iron-on transfers are included, which is very useful. So they're all in the back of here. So what you do with the iron-on transfers, take them out very carefully. They're actually perforated. And then you place them, let me just show you one of them. You place them right, make sure, what I would do is if you're taking, if there's two on a page, cut round it because you'll end up transferring. You place it right sides down onto the fabric in exactly the place you want it. And the most important thing is you need to hold it very, very still. So the way that I do it is I put my fabric right sides up, and then I put the transfer where I want to be, make sure it looks right, measure it. And then I always put it on my ironing board because you can push the pins through there and into your ironing board, and it holds it still. And then you just press it. And when you do it, don't iron it because you will move the transfer. You actually need to get the iron and you press it and you hold it for a few seconds and you lift it and you press it, and that will transfer the design onto your fabric. But you can use them more than once. So the first time you use it, the ink will be very strong. You can use them 3, 4, 5 times. But the ink just gets lighter and lighter. But the most important thing is to keep them still. But it's just a really, really quick way of transferring. Look. So once you've done it, obviously the transfer, once you've used it, doesn't disappear completely. It's just after a few of them, it will stop transferring. But you can just use it to trace over. So once you've finished, all the ink is transferred on the fabric, if you find it's not using again, then that's fine. Just put your fabric on top and you should be able to see to trace through. If you can't, put it on a light box or sellotape it to your window. So it's great that you've got the templates that you can reuse, but you can also transfer. So this book is the other way around. You've got all your stitch dictionary in the moment, and loads of stitches in here. So there's some really nice ones. I mean, you've got all the basic stitches in here. So you've got running stitch, back stitch, straight stitch, chain stitch, but then they've got buttonhole wheel stitch and granito stitch. Really like granito stitch. It's quite clever. All it is 3 little straight stitches all next to each other. But because they're all next to each other and they come in and out of the same hole, they create sort of a texture look. So they're brilliant for little seeds or individual leaves. But you've got fly stitch, French knot, satin stitch, lazy daisy, couching, star stitch, whip stitch, which is fantastic because you can use that with loads of, once you've done a stitch like running stitch or back stitch or stem stitch, you then use another thread and you work through it. You use a blunt needle so that you don't go through the fabric, but you just do another one and then you get the multicoloured stitched effect like on this hoop here. The heart is done in a whip stitch, so the base of the back stitch underneath it is in a blue and then it's whipped in a pink, and that's a really effective stitch to do. So if you're getting really close, can you see that there are two colours there, and the blue is the background stitch and then the pink is the whipping that goes on top. So that's a really nice stitch to use. So it gives you all the details of that, and then it's the embroideries, and again it's this hoop art. You don't have to, but isn't it lovely what they've done to theirs? They've painted their hoops. So if you buy the hoops and you don't want them just plain, you can paint them. But you can paint them any colour, and what I do is I just use tester pots of paint. You can buy them really cheap, and then you can paint them. And if you want to make them more durable, you can varnish them. But the other thing you can do is if you cut strips of fabric about sort of 1/2 inch to an inch wide, you can bind your hoop with fabric. So if you've got any bits of leftover, particularly little prints, like little pretty prints, just bind the hoop with them, and that looks stunning. Hoops are so inexpensive, and once painted or bound, I mean, they look lovely natural, but if you want to add a bit of decoration to them. So there's lots and lots of different ideas in here, and obviously all of the transfers are at the back. They tell you what stitches. They've given you colour suggestions, and I think it's really nice that they've said suggestions. You know, this is your embroidery. You can make it whatever you want. They're just showing you how to do it. So look, you can see there's loads and loads and loads of different designs in here. Lots and lots, and all the transfers are in the back, but really unusual. Really like that one. Beautiful designs. But if you want to get into embroidery and you want to have something that helps you, Sunshine Valley is lovely, then this is an ideal book because there is a lot in it. It's got a lot of stitches, a lot of designs, and the fact that it has the iron-on transfers in the back, loads and loads of them. So look, there they all are. I'll just have a quick look at doodle stitching. So, sorry, doodle stitching embroidery art. So it's the same idea. So it's a bit like doodling by hand, but you're embroidering. So you are doodling with a needle. But this is more, I would say, more in depth. There's a lot of great ideas in here. I'm just going to check. So all the transfers are all, these aren't iron on, these are trace over. So different to the other one. Oh, all the normal techniques, everything that you need to know is all in there. All the stitches, lots and lots and lots of stitches. But it's nice because they've teamed together diagrams for the stitch guides with photographs of the actual stitches. So you can see how one relates to another, which is useful because it's quite hard often to show stitch guides in photographs. They work better as diagrams, but they've mixed the two together. Because I always find when I was working on Love Embroidery magazine, we spent quite some time working out what's the best way to show people how to stitch, because we were starting off from scratch. What's the best way? And we worked together quite a lot, and diagrams seem to be the best way to do it because it's easier to see. You've got more control over diagrams as well, because when you try and take photographs of stitch guides, the thread moves all over the place. But we spent quite a lot of time working out the best way to show it, and I think this is really good. But it's lovely that they put the stitch with it so you can see how the diagram translates into the stitching. Lots of other important stitches that you'd need, like stab stitch and whip stitch. This is for general construction. Then we move into the projects. This is a lovely idea. So the double hoop wreath, you actually use 2 hoops. So you use like a big hoop and a little hoop, and then the fabric is embroidered between them. So you could do them, it's just a different way of having a picture, but you use 2 hoops. On this one, they used an 8-inch and a 4-inch. You could use any sizes, but it's just a really nice way. And obviously, if you go on the website, if you scroll down, we have the 8-inch and the 4-inch. But isn't that lovely? A really unusual way of doing it. I really like the stitch guides because they're coloured and they tell you exactly what colour and what stitch, and that's really nice. So the transfers are in the book as well, but they've done the stitch guides, so they're coloured. This is really unusual, isn't it? This is like all sort of different scraps of thread, real doodle stitching. There's the one that's on the cover. That is stunning, isn't it? You wouldn't ever want to give that away. I mean, but that looks like a beautiful, beautiful work of art. But it's perfectly achievable. If you look at it and you break it down, it's just individual stitches. And it is very, I mean, it says in the introduction to it, are you ready to embark on a year-long embroidering journey? Don't be intimidated. On a complete whim, on January the 1st, I joined a group. So she did this throughout the day, and she did 1 stitch a day to create it. It really is, but this is, I mean, the good thing about, look at that. I love that. So these are made from children's drawings. So if you look closer, you can see up here, kid art photos. So what you can do is you get your child to draw something, and then you just trace over it. You just trace over it, and then you can either applique part of it or you embroider it. And what a beautiful, permanent, forever piece of art. I mean, they've made them into cushions here, but you could frame them or make them into a cushion to go on their bed. But what a lovely thing is, get your children to draw things and you turn it into a piece of stitching. Because the problem is they, you know, when the children are at school, they come home with all their drawings, you stick them on the fridge and they get lost. But if you just took one of their favourite ones, or if you did something like you said, draw the family or draw something, and then you turn that into a piece of embroidery, something you just keep forever and ever. But that's such a lovely, lovely idea, just to immortalise their drawings. But they've done other things here where they've done painting mixed with embroidery, birthstones. This is massively, massively inspirational piece, isn't it? And this is lovely. This is for a birth sampler. So rather than saying the date, it just says under this moon, 2nd of June 2018. But it could be anything. As it says in the book, it could be your first special date, such as a birth, a wedding, or even a first kiss. Or the birth of your puppy. That sort of thing. And remember what I was talking to you earlier about how lovely it is with hoops, that you naturally they look lovely, but you can paint them. But this one has been bound with a satin ribbon. So you can see how lovely that, really, really simple. So strips of fabric or ribbon is good. I love these. But what they've done with this, they're quite clever. They've used like a batik fabric. So you don't have to use a plain fabric. Use a pattern fabric, because as long as the embroidery is bold enough and strong enough to show up on it, then you can really create a background. So they haven't had to do any of the stitching in the back. Just a simple satin stitch, but that is so effective. And I love these mini hoops. These are just gorgeous. They're quite easy to get hold of, and quite often when I bought my last ones, I bought them in a pack of 5 or 6, but they were different sizes, and they're just mini embroidery hoops, and they're honestly like you can get them from about 1/2 inch in diameter up to about 2 or 3 inches, and you can turn them into pendants, or you can make them into little brooches, and you just tiny embroidery, just put an initial on it. These are good, aren't they? Because these are very expensive. Embroidered patches, they're really cool at the moment. Everyone's got them, haven't they? You can buy them. But this is how to make your own. And then you sew them to your jeans. I like this one. Grow, love and dream. That's really nice. So we're going to move on to next the variegated threads. Where are they? Ah. This one. So now we've shown you hoops, books, panels. You need a bit of thread now. So these are lovely. This is stranded cotton, but these are variegated. So the way that the variegated thread works, when you unravel it and you pull out a length, it changes colour along the length. So these are in sort of colour groups. So you've got like a brown, pink, red, teal, pink, green, blue, yellow, but they change its colour. So if you're stitching something, particularly if you're stitching words as well, you don't have to think about, oh, it'd be nice if it changed colour slightly. You know, I was saying, why don't you do something and you choose 5 close shades? It's all in one skein because you just keep stitching and the colour changes all on its own. So in this pack, you've got 36 skeins of thread. There's 8 metres on each one, and they're all variegated. I love the grey one. If you were stitching lettering in this grey, it would just keep changing colour as you go along, and it makes it look like you're much more arty than you really are, because it looks like you've made the point of changing colour. It's beautiful, isn't it? So that pack's only $9.99. So if you team that together with one of the panels, or both of the panels that we've got, and a couple of the hoops, you're ready to go. And these work out at, because there's 36 skeins, 27 pence a skein, which is incredible value. They're really, really good. But that's a really good pack to have, particularly if you haven't done embroidery before, or you just want to add some extra ones to your stash. But if you were thinking about, you know, you wanted to buy somebody a gift for Christmas who likes embroidery or wants to have a go at it, if you bought 1 or 2 of the panels and put a packet of these in and a couple of the 3 hoops that match, that's a lovely Christmas gift, isn't it? And then once you've got it all, put it together in a nice little pack for them. That's a really lovely thing to have. What should we move on to next? Thread winders. So if you want to store your threads, what I find, unfortunately what happens sometimes when you're pulling the thread out, if the labels fall off, it's very hard to ever remember what colour it is. And even if you've pulled it out properly, as you get less and less thread on the skein, I'll just show you one here, it gets loose and they fall off anyway, and you need to remember. So what you have to do, this is the way I store my threads, is I store them in plastic boxes. But I have many of these plastic boxes, too many of these plastic boxes, but then I do have a lot of thread. So in the box, if you buy one of these boxes, you get there's all the little dividers here, and they fit the cardboard bobbins, which also come in the box. Okay? And in the box as well, you get 10 skeins of DMC thread, just random colours, but enough to get you started. Then all of these cardboard bobbins, and you get 100 in here. Now, they are boxes made specifically for these because they fit in this way, like that. What you do is you then take your skein of thread, like here. Remember, write down the number. Then you can write the number of the skein onto the bobbin, just in a pen or pencil. You can write it on the top here, and then you pull off the wrappers, and then you wind it round. You've then got that with the number, you know exactly what thread it is, you're not going to lose it, and then you just pop it into here. And all of these bobbins, once wound with thread, will fit in. I have spent hours recently sorting out all my thread because I've got so much of it, it's all over the place. The paper wrappers fall off, then I don't know what colour it is, or it all gets tangled. But once you've got it all in here, there's something just glorious about that. There's a picture of what it looks like when it's full. But it makes such a difference that it really, you know, for $9.99, particularly because you get all the bobbins as well. That's really good. Now, you can see on the front of the box, for winding these on, you can do it by hand, but you can also get one of these bobbin winders. I've got one of these as well. Because I have wound a lot of thread. So the bobbin winder slots on top of the edge of the box. I won't take it out of the package. And then you put the bobbin on and you just wind the thread and it winds on. So it's a much quicker way of doing it. But for $2.99, it's really useful because I have wound loads of mine on. I thought I'm going to buy myself one of them because it's just a lot easier and it goes on better. And it fits onto the edge of there to do it. So this is, if you've already paid your P&P today, if you've already got some in your basket, then for $2.99, that's actually a really useful gadget. And remember, it comes with 10 skeins as well. But if you're anything like me and you've got loads of these skeins, they're all around and you just keep, you just end up, I find that I pull it out and then it gets lost, or I had them all chucked into one big box and then they all got tangled up and I wasted thread. But there is something very glorious about sorting all your thread out. And I think I own about 8 of these boxes, which is quite a lot of thread. But then I love embroidery, and I use it all the time. So those two are really good. We've also got, if you love embroidery, or you want to buy something for somebody, particularly if you're buying them the kit that we've decided with the thread, these are the best scissors for embroidery of all. They're small, they're sharp, they're good quality, they've got very fine points. So if you want to do cut work, or you're cutting any eyelets or that sort of thing, they're ideal for that. But they are just the perfect, I mean, they're good for obviously for hand or any sewing. You have them by the machine for your machine, but they are particularly good for embroidery because they're just the right size and they're nice and sharp as well. Just exactly what you need. So I'm going to, right, let's just have, remember we were talking about, so right, there are only, I'm going to do this very, very quickly because there are only 6 of these left. 6! So remember this one. Beautiful things to come together one stitch at a time is the big message. The medium size, sewing is therapy, and the little one, sew on and so forth. So if you want to buy yourself a kit or buy it for someone else, these fit the 12, the 8 and the 4-inch hoops, which we've got. If you scroll down on the page, you can see, or they're on the website. If you buy the pack of rainbow thread, that would be perfect for this. And this is the other one that you are also loving. And this one says, when I make with my hands, I give of my heart. Shall I just show you what it looks like when it's done? Look at them together. That's so lovely, isn't it? Let me just move it over slightly. So that's what that looks like once it's stitched. That's just beautiful, isn't it? I really love the font they've used here. It's so scrolly, isn't it? But it does look like very neat handwriting. But if you buy, what's lovely, if you bought the rainbow thread bundle to go with this, if you just stitched, say I'm going to choose, I don't know, like the red to stitch hands, it would change colour as it went along. But that's just really clever. And because you've got 36 and there's lots. So if you buy the hoops, the panel and the thread, and the scissors, that is the best embroidery kit. Anyone who embroiders or would like to have a go would love that. Even me. So this panel is selling extremely, extremely well. There's so many of you that have got it in your baskets. So if you want it, I would check out. Because this is the only place you can get them. They are ours, exclusive to Sewing Street. So if you want them, you can only buy them from us. And remember, if you want to make them, because they've all got the different size hoops, you need to buy the 12-inch, which is that one. And that's on that panel. You need the 8-inch, which is that one. Okay. Is that one coming in? There's the graphics for that one. You need that one. And you need the little 4-inch, the baby one. And remember, they look lovely natural, but they look brilliant painted as well. Or bound in ribbon. But, you know, remember, I mean, we've put these in circles so that it's easy if you want to put them in a hoop, but you don't have to. They would make lovely cushions, or the centre of cushions, or wall hangings, all sorts of things. You could sew them to the front of a tote bag. You know, there's loads and loads of different things you can do with them. But if you want to make them to wall art, those are the ones you need. Oh. So, I was first introduced to this when we were on Sewing Quarter, actually. One of our embroidery designers used it all the time. This is amazing. So if you sitting down, obviously you've got to be sitting down, but then I think, to be fair, most people, I'm going to get the whole thing up. Most people are sitting down when they're sewing, aren't they? For hands free, if I should, we haven't got one, have we not got one made up? But you sit on this bit, that's where your bottom goes. So I will make it up. And you screw that bit in there. I won't be able to sit on it, otherwise I'd have to sit on the table. That would be a bit odd, wouldn't it? That bit screws in there. that bit goes in there, and then the hoop goes in there. And then there are screws as well here that will hold that. So when you're embroidering, you can angle it as well to how you want it. So you sit on here, and then this immediately, if I show you there's a picture here. See the picture on the box? There's the lady sitting on it. Okay? So there's the lady sitting on it. And then it's like having, because you can buy embroidery hoop frames that sit on a table, but if you want to just sit on the sofa, then it's hands-free. So it makes it a lot easier. You haven't got to hold the hoop. You can pull the thread up here, and then you can have another hand underneath to push it back. So it makes your stitching a lot quicker, which also makes it easier and neater, because I think sometimes it's hard. You've got to hold the hoop, you push it down, you hold the hoop with the other hand, you pull it through. So it does make it a lot easier. It's just a really lovely gift to give to someone who sews, or it's a lovely thing to have yourself. If you want an embroidery hoop or frame, this, I think, I mean, I have used it, I think is the one I like the most, because it is hands-free and because you can sit on it, and so it's very, very portable. Obviously, you know, it's not something that you'd use if you were standing at a table, but it is for sitting down. But it does make it easy. And I know there are people who embroider and they don't embroider in a hoop, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. I prefer to embroider in a hoop because it keeps the tension right of your stitches. If you're pulling the thread a bit tight, particularly if you're doing satin stitch where you don't want it sagging on the surface or you don't want it pulling, then an embroidery hoop is ideal for this. It's a 10-inch, the hoop itself is 25 centimetres, 10-inch. It's just lovely, particularly if you're new to embroidery, because your hands are free, it's much easier to go in and out, because particularly in a hoop, you can't, because the fabric is tight, you don't really want to be doing stitches that are in one motion, otherwise you have to keep retightening it. And because if you're not stitching in one motion, and by that I mean going in and out in the same movement, then you do need to keep coming from the top and down the bottom. So this is just a perfect thing. I love these. But this is all high quality polished wood. So I'm just popping back in his box, but all the bits you need, even the little bit, is on there, and there are instructions as well. So it will tell you how to actually put it together. I'll just put that there. But if you do want to sew at a table, which some people do, because you don't have to be sat at your kitchen table, but if you were sort of sat down, you could put it next to, if you had, one of those little occasional tables that you have in your living room, you could put it on there. Then you could clamp it to the table. It works in exactly the same way as the seat frame, other than the fact it has a clamp that clamps to the table. But the hoop is exactly the same, but the clampy bit just attaches like this to the edge of your table. Now, and it covers various sizes. So this is like kitchen work surface thickness. Probably is a kitchen work surface, but it will fit on there. But obviously if you've got an occasional table, it will go because the clamp just changes the diameter. So again, it allows you to have your hands-free stitching, but you can attach it to a table. So it depends on what you want to do, whether you want it attached to a table, because some people prefer that, or whether you want to sit on it, but both do the same thing. But they are really good quality and will make your stitching easier and neater as well, which is what we all want. Easier, neater stitching. So let's pop that back in there. Right, I've got a really, really lovely book now. This is something very special, and this one comes with 3 skeins, 5 DMC skeins. Very special book. You know it's special because it's got elastic round it. So the lady Trish Burr, who designed everything in here, she did it in association with Kew Gardens and used obviously all of their flowers of inspiration. But this is your beautiful, beautiful embroidery. So once you've had a go at embroidery and you've worked out how to do it, this is where you move to next. I mean, obviously it covers all the techniques, all the stitching, but in immense detail. So for long and short stitch, It shows you how to merge the stitches, and there's a lot of this used in the book because that's how they get the shading and the different grades of colour on the petals and the leaves. But it tells you in detail how to do that. And it shows you like beautifully. So if you want to stitch a leaf, you know, that's amazing. When you look at the colour, that looks 3D, it looks real, but it's just done by careful shading, and they show you very step by step how you can achieve that. So it does feel like, although this embroidery looks like, oh whoa, this is really sort of top end difficult, they've really broken it down so it's easier to understand. You know, even things like, how do you outline something? And it shows you different ways of outlining and different methods. And it talks about padded satin stitch as well, which is nice, and that gives a real 3D quality. And that's where you cover the base with stitching, like, well, any stitching. You can use running stitch, chain stitch, back stitch, whatever you like. But then you cover it with satin stitch, and it gives it that raised appearance. And that's used a lot in this book to give really realistic looks. Then we move on to the projects. I mean, that's just beautiful, isn't it? That's a starter project, the anemone. And that is stunning. But it looks like, oh, I wouldn't know how to do that. But as I've shown you in the beginning of the book, it explains how you shade using long and short stitch from a dark all the way to a light and how you outline. But if we go over this page, look, it breaks it down for you. So the author really wants you to be able to do this. This isn't just sort of an inspiration book and, oh, have a go. This is really a technical how-to book. It breaks down every element of it. Where do you start? How do you do it? So you feel like once you've gone through all of that, you just take it one step at a time. You think, oh, I can do that. This is I mean, some of the designs are very small as well. I mean, like that beautiful butterfly. But again, if you look at the photos running down here, it's broken down into what order you do things and how you do it. And it actually tells you here what the order of work is. It says step 1, you start with the body, then with the wing. And so it is really holding your hand. I mean, look at that blackberry. That's incredible. It looks so real, doesn't it? But when you break it down like this, okay, so I'll start off and I'll embroider the outlines. Oh, I can do that. Oh, wow. So this is $21.99. This is real sort of inspirational coffee table book, but better because it actually shows you how to do it. When I look at this, you know, first of all, I thought, never going to be able to do that. But when you actually look at it, because it's broken down for you step by step, I mean, and the quality of the photography, someone hasn't taken these on their phone, have they? These are beautiful photographs. It's very, very clear. I love that one, the pansies. But remember, you know, and they're not telling you what you should or shouldn't do with this, but you imagine stitching that onto the, you know, the centre of a purse, or putting it on a piece of clothing. Whoa, it just would look fantastic. I think this really inspires you to want to do, oh, wow. Look at that. That is a beautiful bee. I love that. Whoa. Right, so, gosh, where did the time go? So, that's the embroidery hour is finished, and the next hour is quilting. So the quilt is there. I was going to say, and it is behind me. We've got a brand new design roll from Wright, which I love the fabric. Beautiful, beautiful prints. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes with Katherine, who's going to show you how to make this picnic quilt using the Riley Blake. So we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. Watch us on Freeview Channel 74, Sky Channel 670 or on our YouTube channel. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com. While we're having to spend more time at home again, we're here to keep you busy and entertained. Sewing Street will be live every day from 8 a.m, bringing you plenty of demonstrations with our experts in dressmaking, quilting, bag making, toy making, needle felting, embroidery, and so much more. Our community of fellow sewists on the Sewing Street Fans Facebook group are there to chat to you about whatever you're making, sharing photos and advice. Check out the Sewing Street Facebook and Instagram pages for fun competitions and offers. Watch Sewing Street on Freeview 74, Sky 670, or our YouTube channel and search Sewing Street TV to find us on social media.
Hello everyone, Carol Ibbotson here of Cool Wool Designs, and I love to knit and crochet. I work as a technical pattern editor for yarn companies such as Rowan and Stylecraft, on magazines for both knitting and crochet, independent designers such as Lilia Bourne Crochet, and I've worked on some beautiful books over the years. I've gathered a number of hints and tips along the way which I like to give to my students on workshops. These aren't running at the moment, but I'm setting them all up as online courses as we speak. My design journey started with knitted accessories, using colourwork techniques such as Fair Isle, brioche and other things such as shellac. But it wasn't until I started designing with crochet and came across the mosaic crochet technique that I really felt I'd found my mojo. The geometric patterns lend themselves so well to designing, and I've come up with a series of contemporary bags which have a bit of a vintage feel about them. The technique itself is a lot easier to do than it looks, believe me, and I'm going to be teaching it to you on Yarn Lane. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. See you soon everybody, happy crafting!
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Welcome back to Sewing Street. Where am I? Whoa. Right, welcome back to Sewing Street. We are now going to do quilting. Sorry, it was such a rush in between the two. Anyway, we've got this beautiful book today, Playful Pre-Cut Quilts. And it's this book that we've got the quilt is coming from, which is a lovely picnic quilt. So let me show you. Shall I show you a quick look? I really like this book. I like it because it's very usable and reusable. It features lots and lots of different blocks, and then it shows you how to put those blocks in different ways to make different quilts. And you can use, there's lots and lots of different projects, from full-size quilts to smaller things like table runners, wall hangings, picnic quilts, which funnily enough is the one that we're doing today. So shall I show you the, can you see close up? Okay, so this is a small sample of the finished block. That's the block that's being used for it, that you can see on screen now. And that is just one of the blocks used in the whole of the picnic quilt. But the book is really good. It says making the summer picnic block. So there is just one block and then that is used throughout of it. Now, I know it's November and you're thinking, why am I summer picnic? But how lovely to have your own picnic quilt. Because, you know, this is the sort of quilt. It's going to take you a while to make it. You know, it's made with love, it's made care. There's a lot of very careful piecing involved. I mean, you don't obviously have to use it. It's called summer picnic, but it doesn't have to be used for that. You could put it on a bed. You could put it on the table. You could use it outside. But I do like the idea of making a picnic quilt, though, because you could just use it every single year rather than having just an old blanket in the back of the car. But I think maybe part of the reason of the designer calling it that is that the colours she's used in it. She's used these sort of blues and pinks. But it's just really pretty. It's a really pretty design, and obviously you can use anything, but it uses, you know, some quite clever piecing techniques to get the sort of the rectangles going around the central square. The instructions of the book are really easy, simple, easy to understand. They show you how to make the block there, and then how you join the blocks together to make the whole quilt. So that's lovely. So in the bundle, to make the quilt, you get this lovely, we were talking about this early, brand new Riley Blake design roll. Oh, don't. So in total, there's 5.5 meters of fabric in here. Now this design roll has been designed by Minky Kim, who does designs for Riley Blake, but she also designs lots of really lovely books and patterns and kits. And the style of her designs is everything's always very detailed and very miniature and lovely little things. So in the bundle, before I open that up, look how lovely it is. They can let me open it, because once it's opened, you never get it back together. In the bundle, you get the blue fabric, which is used for all the binding and the sashing. And if the blue, you get, and you get the white fabric. They're both 100% cotton, and in total there's 5.5 meters. Now that's everything you need for the sashing and the borders. There's not enough, it's not enough for the backing as well, because you would use your own backing for that. But everything you need to make the quilt, so all the blocks, all the sashing, the binding and the borders, everything in this quilt. So there's 5.5 meters in total of the blue and the white fabric, and you get the design roll. So should we have a little look? Brand new today, and once it's open, well, you never ever get them back together, so I'm the lucky one. They'll never go back together. So if you've never seen a design roll before, these are all 2.5 inch wide width fabrics, and they are, I have to unroll it very carefully. It must be done by machine, these. They are cut at the full width of the fabric. So each of the strips is 2.5 inches wide. I'm going to take one out so you can see. And then they're cut across the full 44-inch width of the fabric. Okay? But they're pre-cut for you. And what's more, they're cut with pinking shears, or probably a machine pinking shears, so they don't fray, which is really nice. And there are lots and lots of different books and patterns and all sorts you can make with design rolls. So should we have a look at them? So where are we? Right, so we've got this lovely red background. We've got a pink one with apples, a pink floral, and another pink floral, and a pink spotty, look, pink with spots background, and these lovely. So this is very typical Minky Kim designs. Everything is tiny and detailed and hand drawn and beautifully coloured, and they almost look embroidered, don't they? Then you've got this lovely print that's it comes in different colours. There's a grey and a red and a mustard, but it's all hand drawn. It says, "Hi you, vintage love, lemonade," and then there's another part of the print that's got string, a tin of string that you would have like in a garden shed. This is a really nice one, because the zigzags on this one are actually printed diagonally, which is very unusual, because normally in order to get stripes diagonally you have to cut across the bias, which makes the fabric less stable. But it's quite unusual to get a print where the stripes are actually printed on it diagonally, so you get 2 of those. So the colour palette of this is a raspberry red, a pink, charcoal, and then a mustard as well. And what I really like about that is that she's chosen some really bright colours, but taken the shades down 1 or 2. So instead of using black, she's gone charcoal. Instead of using yellow, she's gone mustard. And there are a few prints in this which are then repeated in different colourways. So here's the mustard, and that's the same one as the grey one with the words on, but there's the string with the scissors through. So it's a bit like a potting shed. You've got dried herbs hanging down, and then you've got the twine as well, and it's got words on as well. So there are various ways that you can get hold of this design roll. Obviously it's in the bundle in order to make the quilt, this beautiful summer picnic quilt, which you can put on a bed, doesn't have to be for a picnic, but would make a lovely picnic quilt. But also, if you want to just buy the design roll on its own, it's $49.99. Okay, and it does have 40, just checking, it has 40 strips. All of them are 2.5 inches wide, and the full width of the fabric 44 inches. So again, you've got that lovely diagonal stripe, but in a mustard. So there's several prints in here which are all repeated in the different colourways. So this mustard colour is the same as the this pink one I had earlier. So this print here is the same as that print there, but just in a different colourway. And as I go through the strips, you see that repeated throughout, that the different colourways go together. So what's great about buying a design roll, and this is why they're so extremely popular, is that you don't have to think about colours, because you know that they'll all go together. So if you want to make a quilt that uses 2.5-inch strips, all of these colours go together. Also, there is a balance in scale of print. So you've got some large prints, you've got some smaller prints, you've got the background ones like this one here, which is just a background fabric that will go with it. You've got the tiny scale prints like this one here. You've got a little bit of writing and lettering print, but all of the colours in here, whatever you make that requires 2.5-inch strips, it will go together. It just makes it easy, doesn't it? You don't have to think, right, oh, I've got to buy all these different strips and I don't, oh, do they go together? Because it's lovely to mix and match fabrics, but the hard work's done for you. And there's two, from what I think, there are 2 of each strip of each colour in here. So you've got 20 different fabrics in total. But that's lovely. I love that blue. It's like a real soft cornflower blue. So if you want the design roll on its own and not in the bundle to make the quilt, there are less than 20 left. Riley Blake is always extremely popular with us, and I think it's because the colours that are chosen, they're always very clear, clean colours. The prints are always very contemporary, not like sort of really super modern, but just contemporary. Lovely dangler. I mean, you know, the fact that the colours that are chosen, they're not really sort of bright in your face, super primary. They're very subtle. I love this raspberry red pink. And when you go through, you can see, look, the stripe in that is the same as the stripe there. So those two look beautiful together. But then if you pick out, if I pick out this one here, these are really all in the wrong orders now. The blue in there is the same as the blue in that leaf. Right, anyway, we could go through this for ages and ages. But they are so lovely, aren't they? Don't we love Riley Blake fabrics? But you will love them. If you buy these, you will love them. They are a beautiful set. But anyway, let's move over to Katherine and we will talk about how to make the picnic quilt. So, Katherine, welcome back.
Hello
welcome back.
again.
What was the weather like?
It's a little bit sort of murky out there and really quite cold this morning.
Oh, okay. Oh, but it was a bit dark when I got here.
Indoors sewing duvet kind of day.
So tell me about the book. What did you think about that?
Yeah, really nice. Some lovely designs in it. Yeah, really lovely.
Was it easy to understand?
Yes. Yes, it was actually quite clear. Certainly this one, which is obviously the one that I focused on. Very clear about what I was cutting for everything, because there's quite a lot of different
because that's really important, isn't it, that you get the cutting right.
And how to organise your colours, because obviously you open up your jelly roll, you get all excited because there's so many gorgeous fabrics in there. But so that your blocks will work, you need to separate them out into colour groups.
Keep your cuts
organised. Yeah, so she did it just with navy, red, what she calls tan, and light blue. So I kept all the bluish and blues and greys to one side as one little lot, and then I separated out the pinks and the yellows, and then I kept the pale pinks for the sashing. Okay. So sashing it, there's almost 2 little patterns in this quilt. You've got your block, and then between each row you have got a little row of sashing that creates a lovely little like little cross.
Oh yeah,
and gives you
I can see those. They're lovely, aren't they?
So I used the light pink for those. So you can, obviously, it's your design choice. You can separate them out how you like, depending which bits you want, which colours you want to highlight. Yeah,
but I mean,
it tells you all that at the start.
And they're all such lovely fabrics that they'll all go together, whatever order you put them in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that was not quite nice and straightforward. I would cut it really accurately. This isn't the easiest block to get dead accurate. So every stage you need to be cutting it nice
Okay.
and accurately so that
So
you're
take
not
your time then.
losing millimetres here, millimetres there. If last time I was on, I demonstrated the Stripology ruler, the Creative Grids ruler. If you've bought one of those, it'd be brilliant for cutting this up.
Okay, it's not that one that we normally have isn't in stock at the moment, but we are getting more back of them.
So the big long rectangles are 6.5 inches. So I'm just going to cut this one up to use. You can see that I've pre-cut lots of my little squares, the other strips, into squares which are all 2.5 inch squares. 6.5. I always have to count, Rebecca, like that, just to double check that I'm doing it right. And each block's got 4 of each one. So, and then you need quite a lot of your white background fabrics. And again, you need small 2.5 squares. You need 6.5 inch rectangles for it. And then you need some longer rectangles for
So
your
I guess as long as you just
sashing.
cut out everything in advance.
Yeah,
and
you
label it.
You can see I've got lots of little piles. I did lots of cutting, had everything pinned together with little labels on, and then I grouped them. I got the fun part, deciding what you're going to put together. So each block has 4 white 2.5 inch squares and 4 of your pinky reddy colours and 4 of your yellows. So I chose which ones I wanted to do, and then it also has 4 of your longer rectangles and 4 of your white rectangles. So you can spend a little bit of time putting everything together and getting them how you want to, and laying them out. Because I find that bit really fun, just playing with the fabrics.
It's nice, isn't it? And then,
Yes.
but then you keep sort of swapping them around, isn't it? I always do that when I choose something. I put them together and then you think, oh, and then you often go back to what you chose at the beginning anyway.
That's right. Okay, extra 4 as well for doing that bit. So it's actually 8 white 2.5 inch squares.
So did you make one block at a time?
Yes, I did do quite a lot of chain piecing. So when you have a little look at the instructions, that each block's got 4 sections and each section has 3 parts to it.
Right.
It is quite a complicated, there's quite a lot of bits and pieces in each block. So this middle section where I put the 2.5 inch squares together, I did quite a lot of chain piecing of those to speed it up.
Right.
Because I didn't have a huge amount of time to get it ready. If I was carrying on and finishing the whole quilt, I probably would just approach it sort of one block at a time and just take the pleasure of doing each block really, really carefully, but you can do it either way. Depending how you like to sew, really.
I always like to do, if I'm doing something like this, I like to do one block so I can learn it and perfect it.
Yes.
And then I
did do one block at the
then
start
I production line everything else.
See what was going on.
And then they all finish at the same time then.
Okay.
But I guess it just depends how you, I always like to sort of master one block.
Yes, I did do one to start
Yeah,
off with.
because I have done it before where I've done all the stages and realised I've got something wrong and then everything's wrong. So.
Okay, so to start off your block, you're going to, on 4 of your white squares, you're going to just mark corner to corner, like so. Using whatever method you like. I've picked this one up because it's here this morning. When I'm at home, I use a pencil, I haven't got anything special.
Okay. I always use I love those. I love those heat erasable pens because you can really draw and then you just.
Every time I come here, I think I've got to get some of these.
It's
They're
just
really
magic.
good.
I just love the way, particularly I use them a lot for embroidery because you don't cover it all with your stitching and then you press it and you think, oh, and it all just disappears. Really useful for drawing on if you're cutting particularly triangles.
So you mark those up and then on each of your 4 long coloured rectangles we are going to stitch. Now it's important we get it the right way around, and I'm having one of those mornings, so let's really concentrate and try and get it right, because when we stitch it, then that's going to go
so
down
this
like
is just
that.
the sort
They
of cutting
all
off
go,
the top corner of your
it is.
rectangles.
And they
these
all
are
go the same way round. So you're making 4 exactly the same each time. Because although in the block they look rotated, don't they? You still make 4 the same.
It's clever, isn't it, that
It
the
is. It
piece
is a
at the
clever
top
book, actually.
makes a square.
Right.
It is, I suppose, wonder whether they've called it the pinwheel quilt, because this is like one of those windmills, those paper windmills you have on a stick.
Yes, it is a little bit,
And so
isn't
maybe
it?
that's the sort of the picnic element of it.
Now, when you stitch this one, you are stitching down the line. Occasionally, sometimes you do either sides of the line, don't you, depending what you're making. This one, we are following our line.
Yeah, if you were doing a half square triangle, you'd be either side, but this one...
Yes.
So that's nice, easy sewing, isn't it? You draw the
That's
line
nice.
and you sew on top of it.
Absolutely. Okay, just make sure they're really nicely lined up. Okay, and the last one. What's nice about doing a quilt like this with a jelly roll is actually your cutting's fairly minimal, because sometimes you can spend ages cutting things,
because you're only
can't
cutting
you?
the length, that's
Yes.
it. You don't have to do widths.
So you haven't got to spend like days and days cutting things, and you can get onto the sewing bit really quickly, which is fun. Okay, then you are going to, I'm going to just cut it off with, I'm not going to cut it off with my scissors because I can't see them. We'll just trim this off, and then they're going to press open like this.
Oh, so you cut outside the line.
Yeah, leave yourself a 1/4 inch seam or thereabouts. Now ideally I want to iron this towards the darker side if I can, so we don't see that seam. Sometimes they have a way they want to go, don't they? But this one does not want to go the way I want it to go.
It's really odd, isn't
Yeah,
it? 'Cause they do. And it doesn't matter how you've done it, but they just want to go
ideally,
one way.
it wants to go to the darker
Darker
side,
side.
so you can't see that. So we'll just press those open. Okay. And that's the only kind of, everything else is straight lines. That's the only sort of diagonally bit that we do.
But that's the clever bit, isn't it? That's what makes the quilt, that's what makes the block look like a windmill.
Okay. So your pressing's really important to just get that seam, you know, open as far as it can. This block is really about accuracy when you find when we come to put our 4 pieces together, and your pressing really helps with that actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's important to sew it and press it and put it to one side and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so we've got our 4 like that. Now we're going to put together our little central section, and again it needs to be in the right order, so we're going white next to yellow next to our pinky colour. I'm going to lay them out, so I try not to muddle them up.
Yeah.
That's often a helpful thing to do, isn't it? It's very easy when you're sewing lots of little bits and stuff to pick things up and rotate them.
So remember, if you buy the bundle to make the quilt, obviously you get the whole design roll, the whole Riley Blake 40 strips, 2.5 inches wide, full width of 4 inches length each of them. So in the bundle to buy the quilt, you get that whole design roll. But it won't be opened like mine is. It will all be nicely rolled up and tied together beautifully. Plus enough fabric to do all the sashing and the borders and all the bit in between as well. So the whole of the front of the quilt. This is just the one that you can see on the screen. This is just the small sample of the few blocks that Katherine has already made. But the finished one, if you follow the book, is, what does it say?
It's actually 20 blocks.
65 by 79 inches. That's the finished size of the quilt, is 65 by 79 inches. So that's a really good size. And in your kit, there is enough to do all of that.
Yeah. So these are going together with a 1/4 inch seam. So when you get going with it, you can like whiz these through and chain piece them. And again, each block needs 4. There's quite a lot of quite a lot of components to each block.
But it's best to, but like you say, you know, if you do one block to start with, and if you're still not sure, maybe do another, then you learn it, then it becomes a process, doesn't it? And then you can do the whole thing.
Absolutely.
But it's lovely that in this kit you get enough fabric to do the whole of the top of it, because that's a good size quilt, isn't it?
Really nice. Yes,
and
it would
does
be a
look,
great
I mean,
size.
the small bit that you've done looks absolutely stunning. I love it. And I guess everybody's will look different as well, depending on
yes,
what
because you don't
colours
have to use the colourway that I've done it.
So you've got pink crosses in between. But
Yes,
you could decide
yellow
ones.
You could decide to use your yellow as that and put your pink in there. You know, you can.
And it's
entirely
lovely the
up to
fact
you.
that all of those fabrics go together really well.
And in fact, there was one little set of sort of the whitish background ones that I didn't even pull out to use.
Okay.
But you've got those as well in there. What I particularly liked as well was none of the patterns are directional, particularly.
Yeah.
Because obviously this block does have some rotating in it, but it doesn't matter which way round you do it. The patterns are still going to look lovely.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes people don't like if
If
patterns
is
go a different way.
Is the words one directional?
Well, I suppose that is.
It's probably the only one though,
that's
isn't it?
the only one, and I think the words are subtle enough that it's not.
It doesn't matter. No,
be
it's
a
not a sort of a big enough. It does make it
deal.
easier, doesn't it? If it's not directional.
Yes.
It is a lovely fabric though. Really like it. Okay. It's lovely. What I love about a design roll is that you get the whole collection.
Yeah.
So often, if you buy it by the half metre, or maybe you've got a charm pack, it's just really nice when you buy a design roll that you get all of them.
Yeah. These are
But
these are
remember
the sorts of things I like being given for Christmas.
I know. Well, remember, if you want the design roll on its own, you can buy it on its own. But, well, you saw what it looked like. Can't roll it back up again. There's not a chance. But it is a beautiful thing to own. I've got a design roll I bought about 3 or 4 years ago, and I just can't bear to unwrap it. Because once I've unwrapped it, that's it.
I know.
And I'm sort of waiting for the right quilt.
It'll come along.
And it will.
All
it
of
will
a sudden,
come
you'll
along.
be leafing
go,
through one of
yes.
these books, and you'll go, oh, that's going to go with
Because
my
sometimes I know that there's fabric in there that I could use for something I'd like. I think, no, because I'm going to use this all for something.
Together.
But, I mean, it is wonderful because if you wanted to bind a quilt, this is perfect. This is the perfect size for binding a quilt, so you could just join loads of these together.
Well, that's true. I made, often what I do if I make one from a jelly roll is the bits that are left over, I join all together for my binding and use it all up, and then it all
I know,
matches.
I always do a scrappy binding, but so if you bought this design roll, you don't have to use it all like I'm saying in a quilt. You can use it for lots and lots of different things, but they are perfect for scrappy bindings.
Okay, so I've got my ones with the little triangles, I've got my 3 in a row, all pressed, and I've got my white rectangles.
So that's everything you need for one block now?
They're the bits for one block. So now we're going to put these together into this. And at the moment, all nice, no matching.
Right,
yeah?
That's nice and easy.
This bit's nice and easy. It's when we get to this middle triangle that we have a bit of matching, but we'll get to that. But this part, lovely, no matching, which can be a problem sometimes, can't it? So again, a 1/4 inch seam. So we've got a white on the left hand side and a coloured one on the right hand side. I did do at least one the wrong way round.
Yeah, but you have to.
You have to.
It's just part of it, isn't it? That's why don't do what I did and do production line it all before you've not made one. And then you realise you've made the same mistake 25 times. God, I've done that enough times.
Okay, we'll press that one so you can see it, and then I'm going to make 3 more.
And so do you press them all to one side as you go?
Well, it starts to get, I'm trying to remember which way.
Do they tell you about pressing?
She does tell you about pressing, and I'm trying to, she doesn't say now which way round these ones go. Now she suggests pressing the seams open, which I don't often do on a quilt actually. We'll give it a go. I don't think I read that bit when I was doing my demo piece.
Yeah, because one of them she says press the seam open, the other one press the seam in one direction. So I don't know what the reason for that is.
Well pressed generally is my
Or maybe it's just
advice.
to do with the way that the seams lie, so when they nest together.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so when you sew the squares together, they're supposed to be pressed in one direction.
Yes. Which I...
But when you put the ones on the diagonal line, that says press the seam. That's strange. No idea why. But actually, do you know what? I do think it is a personal choice whether you press the seam open or to one side.
I don't usually. I don't know about you.
Press
just because they're small and they're fiddly.
Oh, it's no, I change it. I
open.
press them to one side if I'm nesting seams. But once I get too much bulk, I start pressing them open.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get a bit of a lump. So I think some people are a bit like, oh, no, you should always do it one way or another, but I just do which one I quite fancy. And if the fabrics are really different, I press them open. But then if I've pieced and then I've cut through, you have to press them to one side, otherwise the seam comes undone.
True.
So I think it's up to you. It's your quilt. You can do what you like.
Absolutely. I think rules are guidance, aren't they?
Yes, they're guidance.
They're guidance.
It is guidance only. And you soon work out. Sometimes there is a specific reason, particularly when you're doing something, if it meets in the centre and it reduces bulk by doing them that, or if you're nesting seams. But other than that, it really is up to you. I do like the idea of using the crosses on the sashing though.
That was nice, and it was really pleasing to do them and
I
them
guess
to come
it also
together.
reduces the need to have such long strips. Because sometimes if you're cutting sashing strips, you need like something that's 80 inches long and you think, well, I've got to then join. But by doing small pieces of sashing, you don't have to do any joining of long pieces.
No, you don't.
And it looks really effective as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a really nice, just like extra, just makes it look extra.
Well, it's like filling in the gaps, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's sort of a technique you could use for many quilts, because there's loads of quilts that are blocks that are just all joined together with sashing between. I wonder if she's used that in, because all of her quilts in the book are blocks, aren't they? Yes, no, she has. She has actually. So in this quilt, she's done the same thing, but not with those crosses, but she's joined them to make. What a good idea.
Yeah,
And
I like
she's
the
got
idea
another
of
one
that.
where she's joined them so they make a 9-patch square.
Making your sashing part of the pattern rather than just
Yeah,
a joining
yeah,
feature.
that's true.
Yeah.
But it also does mean you don't have to cut these really long strips or join them together. I like that one.
Okay.
That
one
is a
more to
beautiful
go
quilt.
together.
Yeah, so if you managed to get the early bird design roll the other day, that would be brilliant for this book. Love that design there, colonial flowers. That's beautiful. But this is a very good value book for the number of designs you get in it and how clever they are. She's done this with all of this. This is a theme. The stars in that one. So all of her sashing
Nice.
is all joined together with different things. So I guess what you could do is you could mix and match it. So you could actually put the stars in the centre instead of
Certainly if
the
your blocks
crosses.
are all the same size.
yeah. Well, they are. See, in this book, all the blocks are exactly the same size, and then you can choose what you put between them. Oh, they're called flower blocks. That's so pretty.
Okay, so I've got 4 little pieces like that, so I'm just going to press these now.
So that's your whole. That's 4 quarters.
4 quarters.
4 quarters of a finished block.
Yes. And I have to say the diagrams of how you put these 4 together is really clear. You can see what you're up to.
Well, they've got little arrows, haven't they, to say
yes.
what bit goes with what bit. It is a really, there's a lot of really good ideas. And I think she says in the beginning of the book, you know, read the whole thing and take different elements from different things. So if you want to add different, you know, bits in between your sashing.
Which is a great idea, because you can just get a bit creative with it. It's quite nice doing a bit of hacking and making it to please yourself, isn't it?
Well, particularly because all the blocks are the same size, you can mix and match. And what I like as well, I mean, you could do with this, is you could do a different block for each one.
Absolutely.
For each, you could make the whole quilt, and because they're all used pre-cuts, you could make your whole quilt using a different block for each.
That's quite nice as a sampler quilt, but all in the same colours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So there's 15. How many blocks are there in total?
I often get bored if I have to make the same
I
block
know.
too
So
many
in fact,
times.
you'd never have this sort of
and then I don't
line,
finish it.
would you?
So you could, use it as a lovely challenge to just try
and
lots
everything
of
in
different
this,
ones.
and it does all use the pre-cut strips. So I don't know how many blocks there are, but yeah, you wouldn't get bored, would you?
No.
You think, right, today I'm going to do that block. That's a nice idea. I would like this book.
And can you get the book just on its own? Oh yeah, I can see on there.
Can
Yes,
you get the book just on your own? I would like this book. There's just a lot of really nice things in it. Do you know, there's so many shows that I do and I go, I would really like that.
Every time I come, I go home and think,
Can you
I
imagine how
I
much...
could do with that, I could do with that.
Can you imagine how much stuff I'd...
You'd need a little sewing, just a massive sewing library.
I have got
I bet you've got one already.
I have got a massive sewing library and I've got far too much stuff. I've got a whole room in my house that's just mine, that is just filled.
You're
Just
so
it's a whole room
lucky.
that's mine, and it is absolutely, there's too much in it already. I can barely get anything else in, but I just see new things. You can never have too much.
Not really, no.
Too much fabric.
A girl can never have too much fabric or whatever,
books.
I'd say.
Or ideas.
No.
I think you should always be working on a project but really excited about starting the next one. I think you always need to have that, when I finish this I'm going to.
Okay, so this is how it's going to go together. Now, this is the little bit that I got a little bit tangled up with at times, because on this side of your block you've got your 1/4 inch seam. You can see where that's going to join to get to point, but on this side you haven't. And that makes it slightly trickier when you're putting these together to get the points to match in the right place.
Okay.
I'm going to show you one I did that was an utter disaster.
Go on then.
So you can just see.
So this is what I did badly earlier.
Just terrible. Absolutely
Nice.
terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I know, but
Just
you know what?
would not go
Nobody,
together
once you've done
at
the whole
all.
quilt, nobody would notice that.
No.
You notice it at that moment in time, but across the whole quilt.
So, I found it useful. I did press in my seam a little bit. I measured my 1/4 inch, or to draw it in, just so that you can see. It's knowing where to pin that bit so that you hit it right. That I found was a tricky bit, because I could get my centre bit matched up beautifully and then my corners would be out, and actually it's more important to get those points. It's so white and it stands out, you need it to match, don't you? So that was the bit I found a bit tricky in the block. So I'm going to draw myself a little line in today instead of pressing it. You suggested a line, so we'll give it a go.
Yeah, what I do is I measure just on that point where the 1/4 inch is, just on that point that you need to pin.
Yeah.
And then I
And
push
we'll
a
give
pin
that a
through
go.
that. I'm going to pin through the one that I'm joining it to at just that point.
So there we go. So we're putting 2 rows together, and then obviously the 2 together. We will see how we go. Where have my pins gone? Here they are. So I did end up unpicking 1 or 2 when I did it. Now, you see, she said press it open, but I don't like that because I can't see. I like them down where I can see where I've got to get it.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes though, when you're sewing things together, one bit is all right pressed open, the other one isn't, and you have to sort of move them around.
Yeah. Now I'm actually going to mark it on this side. Just so. It's often when you do triangles, you can see on both sides, can't you, where you're doing it, but on this one, you just can't.
I think it is worth, like you say, though, taking that little bit extra time to get it matched up. But if you do the measuring and the pinning first.
Now I've rotated it. Oh, it's so easy to do though with a quilt, isn't it? Okay, so let's line that up. And I'm happy that that's at my quarter. I think that we'll give that a go. Because it's such a nice pattern and you do want it to go right, and it's irritating when it doesn't.
Well, your finished quilt looks lovely, so you obviously worked it out.
It was just about really taking care on this bit, not rushing this little bit, just so that you get it matched up.
Well, as you said, the rest of it is quite simple, isn't it? So it's only this one part where you need to take a little time.
The big reveal. How did I do? Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Not perfect, but not too bad.
We should have a challenge, shouldn't we? We'll give it to everyone and go, right, who can do it?
It's always more nerve-wracking when you're
sure
doing it on the telly.
I'm sure there's loads of you at home watching going, you need to do it like this, or
yeah,
I've done that, or lots of you going, I've done that as well. That's the good thing about it, isn't it? The whole of the sort of the sewing and quilting community. I think I never feel there's any judgment from people. There's usually just a lot of understanding. And people going, oh, I know.
Right.
How many people have got projects in a carrier bag behind the back of the sofa?
In a box, in the garage.
And they go, I'll come back to that another day.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I'm feeling braver. I tried to make a robin doorstop once. That was it. The whole thing went in the bin, and I just walked away.
Sometimes,
never do it again.
Sometimes that is the way to go. Actually, I did a big clear out in lockdown 1 where I kind of went through all those unfinished projects and went, okay, why haven't I finished it? Don't I like it anymore?
Yeah,
Has it just gone irreparably wrong? Perhaps it's not going to fit me. There was the odd garment where I'd started and it clearly wasn't going to fit right. And do you know what? I just went, okay, don't leave them in the bag. Let's just chuck them and move on to something that works.
Yeah, that's true. We'll just use that fabric for something else. I spent hours making this beautiful denim pinafore once, and I put it on and it looked awful. I looked like a sack of potatoes with the rope tied around the middle. And I put it on, I was so pleased. I even done like sort of bound seams. It was beautiful until I put it on. Then I just thought, that's not going to work, is it? So I just put it on my shelf with all the other fabric, and then gradually over the years I've cut it up and used it for other things.
So yeah, I think that's
and I
sometimes
bought a new
what
pattern and some new fabric and started again. But honestly,
I don't think it matters how experienced you are
no,
a sewer. Some things just don't work out very well,
honestly,
do they?
It looked so awful. But the picture on the pattern, the lady looked so nice in it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. I mean, if I tried it on in the shop, I'd have known. It was just, I've avoided that style since. But I did look awful.
You do find that when you dressmake though, you learn, don't you, what suits you and what doesn't.
You learn better than from buying clothes, actually.
Definitely.
So I can look at a pattern and think, no chance. Absolutely no chance is that going to look any good on me.
No, it's a good exercise.
I've used that denim fabric in so many things.
Well, that's all right then. It wasn't wasted.
No. Same about the seams. There we are.
Okay. So we've got our middle two, and we're just going to put these two together. And if I get that done, then that'll be. Then you just make 19 more of them.
Yes, or you make one of all the different blocks in the book as well. That's the beauty of this book. Right, you've only got 10 minutes left.
Okie dokie. Well, that'll be enough just to finish
message
off.
from Susan. Yes. Great demo. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Don't say anything. Yeah, great demo. We love it.
That's it. Sure.
There's a table runner in it as well, so you could just make 3 of these blocks.
Well, you could, absolutely.
You could just make 3 of them and then make it into a table runner, and they've got a nice pinwheel. I am loving these
There are a
bits in
lot of
between
very
the
nice
session.
blocks in it.
I know.
and
I really want this.
yeah.
I really want this book. No, I've got too many books. Have I mentioned how much I like this book? It's a really nice thing.
I like I'm very taken with the jelly roll. Really nice colours, I think.
It
Just
is,
really
well,
cheerful.
But they are. They're sort of. Riley Blake is well known for its bright. They're clear colours, aren't they?
Yeah, lovely.
And the detail in them I love, because I think, was it last week we were selling this fabric by the half metre, I think. I'm sure it was last week. Yes. And did we sell out last week by the half metre? There were some left. But it is really lovely. This was my favourite. That's my favourite one, the one with the print on. But I love this one because it's such detailed. It's like embroidered flowers. I would want to embroider on top of that, but then the background of it is a pink spot. In fact, it's exactly the same as the charcoal version. But it's not just a spot where it's all regular. It's like someone's flicked a paintbrush over it. It's just dotty.
I like the flowery ones.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah. So I've got them all blocked together. Now
Whoa.
you can see it's not matching perfectly in the middle, but my points aren't bad at all.
Right.
Which is actually the bit that you're going to notice.
Okay. That's the joy and beauty of quilting.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
any
like
things
this one.
like that
That must have-
flatten out.
Yes. So that's how you put your block together.
Okay.
Your sashing is, again, little 2.5-inch squares and some longer. You've got 10.5-inch rectangles and 8.5-inch
Oh, I can see on the one
rectangles.
behind you that you can see which are the long ones.
Yes, so what happens is you put a piece in between each of your blocks to make them into rows, and then you put your long one down the middle to join your rows
And
together.
then that little block in the centre is
Yes.
what joins them together and it makes a
Yes.
cross.
Absolutely.
So you can do it like yours where you've got pinks in there, or you could put a really strong one in the centre to make it into...
Absolutely. You can, I mean, I kind of I cut up my pinks and I just picked them up randomly so on this. So they did make a little pattern there and there, but they didn't on that one. I don't know. It just felt like it didn't really matter because the colours were so similar.
I don't think it does.
But you can plan it out, you know, much more carefully if you want to.
Well, the one in the book, I mean, they are just very... Well, no, she's very unplanned. Some of them make crosses with a very different colour in the centre, but others, not at all.
Yes.
So I think
I mean, I like
quite
this.
nice.
There's quite a lot. The diagonal in this comes through in the different colours. You could save your zigzags for your crosses, couldn't you? I mean, there's lots of ways around that you could do it.
Yeah. So do you have to sort of select a specific colourway for the crosses and a specific colourway?
Well, I mean, you don't have to, but I think it looks quite nice that you've got
yes,
all the sorts of reds in the same place, all the kinds of
yellow.
yellows in the same place. Don't you think?
Yes, no, it does actually. It looks
I think
really
if
nice.
I was going to make the whole thing, then yes, I would. But there's nothing to stop you doing it randomly if you want to.
Anyway.
Not at all.
Yeah, so remember the one that behind Katherine is just the small sample she's made. The one that you will make is 65 by 79 inches. How many blocks did you say?
So it's 20 blocks, and you have got enough in there easily to make 20 blocks.
Oh, well, that's nice. So would you have enough over, do you think, to bind it?
I think you'd have enough of the white one, the whitish, to bind around the edge, probably.
So you'd have enough of one of them.
I mean, I haven't measured, but certainly.
But to create a scrappy binding, because I really like that effect, because it's often quite hard to choose a binding for a quilt, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you just join together everything that you made your quilt from, then it matches.
Yes, I mean, if you calculated at the start, you know, well, it does tell you 80 rectangles, 80 squares. It tells you exactly how many squares you need, so you can get those sorted. And I mean, you know, you're doing it in groups of 4 as well, so you can plan them out and cut them up, and then whatever strips you've got left, and you can save for your binding, can't you? So you're not wasting anything.
Well, you only need 32 strips.
Yes.
Actually, and there's 40 in here.
Yes.
So you've got 8 left over, so that's quite good, isn't it? Yeah. So you probably would have enough to do it.
Yeah.
So is it making these centre blocks easy enough then?
Yes, it is. They are literally, if I can do a little, I'll do a little layout. So when you put your centre blocks together, you've literally got three little squares that go across the length of the sashing.
Okay,
Attached
so you
to,
join them
they're actually
together
slightly longer than
first.
this. And then let's just say, you can imagine that's going across the length. I've got my block in there, and then I have a piece of sashing.
So do you join the side strips?
So you join your side strips first. You'll join your rows all together. Imagine that's longer. So you'll put all your blocks in rows with a piece of sashing in between.
Right.
And then each one has a long bit that goes across. So all you have to do is match those little bits, and you get your little cross.
Well, that's great. That's really nice.
It would be very nice actually with the little yellow ones, wouldn't it?
That's
so
brilliant.
There's so many options.
That's lovely. Well, thanks, Katherine, for showing us, and it's really nice to see, how you tackled it and how you choose the colours. And really good to see the sort of that it's easy at this bit and tricky at that. It's a really nice way of explaining it. So, you'll be back with us.
Got my knitting needles
Yeah,
out
back
of the
with
resi.
us for Yarn Lane at 12. Our super knitting. So we will see you then. So, the book. Obviously, well, I've been talking about this book all hour. You know how much I love the book. And remember I said there are loads and loads of different quilt patterns in here and blocks, all using pre-cuts. Some are design rolls, some are charm packs, some are 5-inch charm packs, 10-inch charm packs. But all the blocks are the same size, so you can use different blocks for different things. So in this quilt here, there's a cat block and there's the garden path block, but both of those blocks are using the same quilt. You can make a sampler quilt by using one of each. That uses that's the Rise and Shine, so that uses the Rise and Shine block. I love that fabric, it's got fried eggs on it. Wow, where'd you get fried egg fabric from? Is it? That's really nice, isn't it? But that's a star block, and I love the way that they've done, like Katherine was talking about, the crosses on the board in the sashing. This one has got different things. Each sashing seems to feature a slightly different one. The scrappy hearts is really lovely, isn't it? I'm just going to move over so you can see it there. Isn't that really stunning? It is using this sort of bright clears like in the Riley Blake, but then it uses a very dark charcoal background. And it actually makes the colours really show. So something like that colour background would really work with this design roll. That's very clever. And instead of just doing a plain sashing, she's just popped little squares in between it. So there's a lot in here that would gives you lots and lots of different ideas of things you can do yourself. And as Katherine said, it was really easy to understand, which is always useful, isn't it? So, but whether or not you buy the bundle that we've got today, or whether you got the design roll the other week, or you've got another design roll, this book will work with all of those things. But if you want to make the quilt that we've got today, then we do have the full bundle ready. Full bundle for it. So, in the bundle, you get 5.5 meters of fabric. I'll just show you. And here it's the blue and the white, and it's used for the sashing and the binding. But you get the whole design roll, 20 strips, which are 2.5 inches wide and 44 inches. So the full width of the fabric long. And there are 40 of them in the whole block, the whole design roll. But look at the colours. You've got a mixtures of like strawberry pink, raspberry pink, grey, mustard, this lovely blue and the green. And I think there's some colours in here that I think if you struggle with colours at all, I wouldn't necessarily put together, but they actually really work. So you've got these lovely strawberry, raspberry pinks, and then a real sort of mint blue and an apple green. And those together just look lovely. They look very, very fresh. I think a lot of the designs that Minky Cum does are very inspired by nature. Because when you look at the colours, you think, yeah, no, you would actually see that. One of my favourite things is the fact that the stripes are printed diagonally, which is unusual, but a really nice touch, because it's something you can only get if you cut fabric on the bias normally. I like these little low volume prints because they feature all the colours that are in the rest of the design roll. So you've got red and green and blue and pink with a lovely white dotted stitch. This But this is, remember that this is in the bundle. So if you want to make the quilt, you will get the 5.5 meters of background and sashing fabric, and you will get this whole design roll. But if you only want the design roll, you can buy it on your own. It's on the screen at the moment, $49.99. So if you just want that, you can buy it on its own. I love this one. I love this print because it's got lots of really nice words on it, and I like the string. But it's nice. Actually, I've now got it. It was the right way round. I'm going to turn it up. Turn it in. I think I must have flipped them at some point. But I love that colour. It's like an American mustard colour because it's a bit brighter. And then the background of this, you see, so you've got one of the prints that's a light charcoal and one that's a darker one. But it makes the flowers and the colours really show up. But what we've got that's interesting is that this fabric is exactly the same fabric, but one on a white background and one on a dark grey background. They look completely different, but they go together. So, you know, with this design roll, just think of all the different things you could make. You could just join them all together. I mean, they are stunning. Because I do think when you're making a big quilt and maybe there are like this, you know, 20 different fabrics, you try choosing 20 different fabrics to go together. Well, unless you're a fabric designer and brilliant at it, I know I'm not, then having a design roll is very, very nice because they do all go together. They're so fresh as well. But, you know, this is a great gift. Catherine was saying earlier, isn't it lovely to have and be given a design roll? Any quilter would love one. And they just feel nice, don't they? Because they are like little cakes. I love the colour of that blue. You've used that one quite a lot in the quilt. Really lovely one. And this one here that's got little... I thought they were apples, but I'm not sure whether they are. I don't know what they are, actually. I thought maybe they're little flowers. Do you have a little question? What do you think? What do you think that is? Don't know. I thought they were apples, but maybe they're flowers. Okay. Paul's getting in really close. What is the missing thing? No, I don't know whether they're apples. Anyway, so there are only a few of these design rolls left. So if you want it, I would check out. I will put it in your basket and check out because they are obviously, unsurprisingly, proving to be very popular. And once they're gone, they're gone. We won't be getting any more of them, sadly. So in the next hour, we've got kits, a roundup of a few kits. But we're going to be featuring I'm just coming under the table one moment. The Christmas thatch cottage. Christmas Tudor cottage with Father Christmas in the roof. Now, I showed it on air a few weeks ago and it sold out. So we have got a few more and we have put it on pre-order. So if you want to buy it on pre-order before I start so you can just enjoy it, if you go onto the website and go on to watch live, underneath that, then that's everything. Look, you can see the design roll, you can see the pre-cut quilts, you can see the embroidery kits. There's the weather planner. If you click on pre-order, that's the one on the right, and you have to go right down to the bottom. There it is. So in the kit, you get a printed panel and the instructions. I'm not going to do the full demo. I'm going to show you how to make part of it. So on the panel, you get a doorstop and a pincushion, but we'll talk about that in the next hour. So if you want to make, but they are on pre-order already, only because they sold out last time. So we've brought them back for me to show you how to do them. But we'll talk about that next. So I'm going to make a cup of tea, so I'm all ready for the next hour. So I will see you in just a few minutes, and we're going to do the cottage and lots of other kits too. So I'll see you in a little bit.
Hi, I'm Wendy Orlando and I'm a craft blogger. You can find me over at thecraftyco.com, and if you do head on over and have a peep, you will see that I'm a tutorial blogger. I do all kinds of crafts, but my passions are crochet, knitting and sewing, which I've done for over 45 years. In that time, I've made lots of mistakes, but I have learnt lots of tricks and top tips that I can't wait to share. What I'd like to bring to the Sewing Street table is to show that you don't need to have gone to university or have a degree in design to be able to sew. You just need passion, a bit of courage to take the first steps, and a whole lot of patience. Oh, and an unpicker. You will need an unpicker. I do hope that you will follow me as I take my Sewing Street journey, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
While we're having to spend more time at home again, we're here to keep you busy and entertained. Sewing Street will be live every day from 8 a.m, bringing you plenty of demonstrations with our experts in dressmaking, quilting, bag making, toy making, needle felting, embroidery, and so much more. Our community of fellow sewists on the Sewing Street fans Facebook group are there to chat to you about whatever you're making, sharing photos and advice. Check out the Sewing Street Facebook and Instagram pages for fun competitions and offers. Watch Sewing Street on Freeview 74, Sky 670, or our YouTube channel and search Sewing Street TV to find us on social media.
Hello, I'm Katherine Wright. I'm from Leicestershire Craft Centre, which is based in Market Harborough. I love all kinds of sewing, but probably my favourite thing to do is dressmaking, but I also teach patchwork and free motion embroidery and anything to do with textiles really. I love to have a go at felting and crochet and knitting and you name it, I'll have a go at it. So I started sewing when I was 7. My mum taught me to sew, and the very first thing I made was an apron. But I'm a terribly impatient person. I just want to get on with the project. So I didn't wait for her to help me cut it out, and I cut it out myself. And I didn't know you had to have a seam allowance. So I made the world's smallest apron, and my mum still has it somewhere. Sewing tips, I would say, I teach a lot of people to sew, especially beginners, and I would say don't get disheartened. Take your learning journey slowly. Don't expect to suddenly make a ball gown or suddenly make a king-size quilt. Build up your skills, slowly. And I would also say the iron is your friend. Use your iron a lot. It makes your sewing look so much better. It helps you get things in place where you want it before you sew, and is a really handy thing to have.
Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. Watch us on Freeview Channel 74, Sky Channel 670 or on our YouTube channel. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Welcome back to Sewing Street. So it's kits in this hour. Now, I'm the lucky because I get to start. So I want to show you my little house. So this has been designed by Amber Makes, which is the little kit company that belongs to me and Amy. And Amy and I used to work together. And I design the projects, as in the technicalities of it, but Amy is the most fantastic surface pattern designer. So I give her like a rectangle and say, oh, could you colour that in and fill it in? And then I get things. So I just said, I just want a Tudor cottage. And then she designed the cottage. So I did all the panels, but she came up with all this. So we've got thatch on the roof. It's beautiful. And she's even put shadow on the thatch. And I said to her, I want a chimney, but it needs to be red bricks. And look at the detail on it. So it's all created. So you don't have to do any colouring in. It's all there already. It's even got all the cement between the bricks. And then we've got Father Christmas in the chimney. And you don't have to put him in there though. That's optional. It's on the panel, but it is optional. And then if you look at the front of it, now what you can do with this panel, and I'll show you the panel in a moment, is that you can make it your own, you can embellish it. So it comes with extra applique pieces, but you can embroider it. So I've embroidered the wreath in the centre, and then you see at the side of here, I just stitch French knots as the foliage. The windows come with Christmas decorations. And then the porch roof, that can be a separate piece if you want to it. And I just worked some backstitch across it, so it looks a bit more thatchy. And then on the side of the house, there we go. It's got a little Christmas tree. And then on the back of the house, on the panel, there comes a tag that you can use. It's got you can put to and from. So you can write on here with a permanent pen, or embroidery the name of the person it's to and it's from. And then there's a picture of the little house. So you could use this if you were giving this house to somebody, or you could just keep it and give it to somebody else. So then we've got the back of the house that's not quite as ornate. But then the back is, so you've got the back door. But if you look at it, the windows are printed on the panel, but they're also printed as separate pieces. And I've put a little piece of felt behind them before I've sewn them on. So then they're slightly padded. And then there's another door on the side. Another tree on the side. But look at the base. So I said to Amy, we won't just have a boring plain base. We'll have flagstones. So she's drawn flagstones. The panel also comes with a label, so that if you want, you can say who it's been made by. I wrote it. This cottage belongs to Amber Makes. And you can sew that on if you want. You don't have to. That's an optional thing. I'll show you the panel in it. So there's even flagstones on the floor. So mine is filled because it's a doorstop, but that's not all you get on the panel. No, you get on the panel, you also get a baby cottage. So you could use the baby as just a Christmas ornament if you want. I have put some stones in the bottom of mine just to keep it weighted down, because then I thought I could use it for a pattern weight. But again, if you look at it, you can see that I've embroidered the wreath on the door and the porch, and I've embroidered the roof. They're both made in the same way. The chimney of this one is much simpler because it's too small to have a full 3D chimney in Father Christmas. So it's just got a little brick chimney, but it's bricks on both sides. And then if you turn it round, this is the clever bit. It's got little pockets. I'm going to sew. It's got little pockets. You see, so I wanted it to be a pin cushion, but then I thought, well, let's not make it into just a pin cushion. Let's have it as a whole sort of storage system. So you can put little, I haven't got any tiny scissors here, but you can put little scissors in it, or put your stitch unrip in it. So there's pockets there, but you don't know the pockets are there. If you don't want them, you can leave the pockets out, because the print, the way Amy's designed it, is the print goes through exactly. And then we turn it round there. So there's the front. There's pockets on both sides, by the way, so you can put spools of thread, you can put clips, put little clips in it, keep those in there. So there's pockets on both sides. Then you can use the top as a pin cushion. So you can pop all your pins in it if you want to. So they all go in, so you can just keep them in there. But then what I've done is one side of the roof I've left unstitched. So, whoa, wrong way. If you open it up, it's a needle case. So you can put all your needles in there, keep them all neat and tidy, and then it hides. But obviously, if you don't want to use as that, one side, on this side, the roof is stitched down, that's solid. So you could just stitch the other side down, that's up to you. So if you wanted to have it as just an ornament, just keep it like that. Or if you want to use it as a pin case and somewhere to keep your needles and your scissors and everything, then you can as well. So I'm just going to show you the panel so you can see what that looks like. So in your kit, you will get the fabric panel, which is quite big, isn't it? So I'm going to move the machine. Can I move the machine just a tad? So let's have a look over here. So this is the doorstop section. I've got too much stuff on my table. There's the doorstop section. So look, there's the roof. Look at how lovely. Let me just move it up so you can see it. So you've got the thatch. And then you've got the shadow on the thatch. And what I did is I quilted along that. You don't have to, but it just gave it a bit more 3D. These are all, so there's the front of the house and the back. And you can see it's got the wreath and the foliage all printed on it. But if you want to add extra detail, a bit more 3D, you can do what I did, is I cut out all of these pieces and with some Bondo web stuck them to some felt, and then I appliqued them on top, and it gives it that more 3D look. I didn't use the wreath, but I did stick the front door on as separate. So everyone's will be slightly different. If you don't want to do applique and you don't want to do embroidery, you just skip that section. Here's the trees. For the trees, you can see on my on mine, if I just put in there, I put French knots. I just embroidered French knots on it, and those were the decorations on the tree. But you don't have to do that. You could just leave your trees as trees. So those that, you know, you can see this isn't just any old fabric panel. I mean, this is beautifully illustrated, isn't it? And then look at the chimneys. They are real brick. And when we did them, Amy was really careful that the bricks actually join up. So when you sew these together, the all of the bricks join together. So it actually looks like it would do. But it's really important. To me, it was really important that the bricks lined up. And then here's Father Christmas's legs. It took a while to work out how on earth am I going to have Father Christmas's legs coming out the top of the chimney, and so that it looks realistic. But that's Father Christmas, and I'll show you later how to do it. And then when we moved on to the little house, so these are the side pockets, which look odd, don't they? Because you've got the tops missing, but it's because you fold them in half, but they've been designed so that when you put them on the sides of the house, they fit the print exactly, so they look like they're disappearing. That's the base of the cottage, and that's the base of the baby one. He's got a slightly different bottom. So his bottom is like slightly different one. So, well, we tried to make it good value, so you get lots. And the pincushion chimney is bricks as well, but that was a simpler one. And then there was a little bit of space left over, and it seemed a shame not to fill it, so we filled it with the front and the back of a gift tag, which is the one I showed you earlier. So you can write, if you use a permanent marker pen, or you could embroider it to and from on there. And then if I move this one down, I'll turn him around and then you can see him. So the little cottage features them there. So if you made this for somebody for Christmas, you'd have to give them that as well, wouldn't you? Or, to be honest, if you made it for yourself, you could just hang that little tag on it, couldn't you? From me to me. And then all I did with the tag is I just sewed the two of them right sides together, turned it right sides out, top stitch around the edge, and just punched punched an eyelet in it. But you could just hang that. In fact, it hangs round the chimney really nicely. So in the kit, you also get the instructions, which is sort of important, or you wouldn't know how to do it. The instructions, nice and glossy, thick ones, not just rubbishy paper, with a picture on the front, and everything you need to know, with photos, walk-through photos on the front and the back. The whole thing of how to make the pincushion, how to make the doorstop, it's all there. And because I've made it now several times, I know that they work. Well, and I hope I've explained how to make them work, but they do work because I have made it quite a few times. So there are, what I would say to start with, because I'm only going to do this for a little bit. I did demonstrate it for a while a few weeks ago, so we're not going to spend a whole hour on it. If you want to do any applique or embroidery, and it does say this in the instructions, you haven't got to remember any of this, it is all, everything you need to know is in there. If you want to do any of the applique or embroidery, do that before you start cutting out the panel, because if you want to embroider it, I personally prefer to work in an embroidery hoop. It's a lot easier obviously to put this in a hoop and to stitch on. So because what I did for the cottage is I embroidered the tops of the window boxes, and then I sewed them on. So it's a lot easier to embroider the panel first and then do any applique. So, and it does say it in the instructions not to do that. So because I embroidered the tops of these, then I did it. Do any embroidery first. And can you see where I embroidered the top of the porch roof? That's the section. And poor Paul's having a nightmare because I keep swapping from one thing to another. So there's the porch roof, which is obviously printed on the panel anyway. But if you want to embroider it, I embroidered some backstitch lines on that. Then I appliqued it onto there. So I would say just if you want to do any of that, do it before you cut your panel out. If you don't, and you can't be bothered, just leave it, because it doesn't matter. It's just an extra thing, and I thought I would do, because some people like to do that, but not everybody. Next thing you need to do is cut out all the pieces. Now, it's really important to remember which piece is which and what's the top. And I know at this stage now, you think you will remember. And obviously it is quite obvious with some things which is which. But honestly, once you cut it all out, it's not always that easy. It's just something else. So when you cut them out, cut around the outside. All the seam allowances are in there. You don't need to remember any of those or think about it or add them on. We've worked it out so that all the seam allowance is there. So cut around the outer edge of each piece. Then with the label at the top of it, cut that out and pin it. Where's my pieces? Yes, I'd like to say this is how my house looks, but it isn't. But my great granny's house is exactly like this. My great grandma's house, who came from a little village in Northamptonshire, her cottage was exactly like this. It was a little Tudor cottage. So it's the same. Isn't that lovely? So here's one I've done earlier. When you cut them out, just cut out the little label and pin it on the right way up. With some things it doesn't matter too much, but with other things it does. And although you think you might remember, for example, when you're cutting out the chimneys, you need to remember which is which, but put the top on, because these bricks have been designed so that when you sew them together, they will join together. So this is a square. If you don't know which is the top and the bottom, you might join the wrong way around. So it's just a simple way of cut them out, label them, pin them on, and then as you use each piece, you can just throw them out. But particularly because there were so many pieces on here, that just makes it easier. So once you cut out the whole panel into lots of pieces, which takes a while, but it's quite a nice thing to do, because you sort of think, right, done that, move on to the next one. You then have to join all the pieces to join the house itself together. So if you're going to embroider it, I just used, all I had was some red and green stranded cotton, nothing special, just a bit of red and green because that was the only colours in it. Oh, and a bit of brown for the porch. To start off with, you need to join, I'm going to make the doorstop first. You join the front of the house. You join the front of the house to the side, to the back. So you see I've still got some of my labels on, to the side and to the front. So some of them are still on there. So it's a complete circle. It looks like that. It looks like one of those houses that's in construction and they've forgotten to put the roof on. Yeah, the Globe Theatre. It's like Grand Designs, when they run out of money and then the roof never goes on. And then they go, and we came back 3 years later and they still hadn't put the roof on. That's what it looks like. Love that. So then you take the two inner roof pieces and you join them together. Yeah, these are professional building terms. Inner roof. And you join them together. And this seems a bit odd, doesn't it? That you're joining together two rectangles to make another rectangle. Why not just have one piece of fabric? Well, it makes construction easier. And I know that sounds really odd, but there's something about when you join a square shape to an angled shape, it's a lot easier if where the join is going to happen, it's actually a join. So I could have just done one piece of fabric, but it is easier to have a piece like that. So this is honestly, I think, well, other than the chimney, probably the trickiest part. When you sew these seams, if you're ever sewing a square shape to an angled shape, start and stop 1 centimetre, because the seam allowance is 1 centimetre in this. Start and stop 1 centimetre from each edge so that you've got left that bit undone. Don't forget to reverse stitch because you want those ends to be solid. It just makes it joining on. So can you see that I've started and stopped there? Right, pins. So we're going to put a roof on our house. This just stops the rain coming in, to be fair. I don't like the rain. I only like the snow. So right sides together. And then what you do to make sure this joins up, you sew. So, oh, that's funny. So, a quarter of the stock has gone. Hannah's just told me a quarter of the stock is gone. I'm going, I don't know why. She goes, no, you need to tell everyone. Okay, everybody, a quarter of the stock has gone. So, when you join the inner roof on, match up the seams all the way along. Now, the way I like to do this is I pin one side on, and because we've left this open, it will make it a lot easier for joining. So pin it all the way along to there, and then you know it fits. And when you start sewing, when there's no turning right sides out on this one, we're going to sew it in completely because it's the bottom we do with that. Let's start sewing in the middle, because joining these, when pivoting at the corners, is tricky, and you don't really want to be starting and stopping and doing reverse stitches at that stage. So start in the centre, and there's lots of things that you do where you have to join on. Am I in the right place? Square shapes, like if you're making a bag that's got a square bottom, or anything where you're joining a square to sort of a cube, then it's easier if you start and stop stitching there. So start in the middle, and we're going to use a 1 centimetre seam allowance. Oh. But you don't have to remember that, because I put it in the instructions handily. Bit annoying, when you can read instructions and you go, I wonder what the seam allowance is. Oh, I'll just guess then. So what you do is you stop stitching when you reach 1 centimetre from the end, but you can see underneath where that is. Now keep the needle down and lift the foot, and let's take the top of the roof. Now this is easier this will fold better because we've got that seam, even though it seems a bit silly. Keep the fabric under the machine while you're doing that. It's easier to sew, stop at the corner, and then repin. So pin that. Oh, maybe pin the other side that you're going to be stitching on, not that side. Okay. So we've pinned the end that we want to sew. Now we just have twiddle it all around a bit to make sure that none of it's bunched up or caught underneath, and then put the foot back down, and now you can sew all the way along to the top of here. And again, we're going to stop in the seam. Oh, don't put needles in your mouth, it's really dangerous. Right, lift the foot, and again you bring it round to the other side. And if you always make sure that you match up the edges of the seams, then it will meet, because we're joining a rectangle to a front, a back, and 4 roof angles. So that's why at this stage if you do the little bit of prep where you start and stop the seam allowance that's 1 centimetre from the end, and you pin it as you go, you will get a much neater finish. However, the great thing about this is a bit of a fiddly bit. You won't see this. The inner roof will be covered by the thatched outer roof. So if you get it slightly wrong at this stage and part of it doesn't match up or something, don't worry, because you won't see it anyway. But it is nice to make it neat, but you need the inner roof it just holds the outer roof more. If we just put the thatch roof on top, you wouldn't get the same finish. It just wouldn't look as nice. And actually, it's the same process that you use for making the pin cushion. And if you don't sew down part of it like I didn't, so you can use it as a needle case, then you will see part of the inner roof. But for construction purposes, it's better to have an inner roof, but you don't see it if you've got any of your seams that aren't quite right, or it's gone a little bit wrong, because it is a little bit fiddly, then don't worry too much. But if you take it nice and slow, then it does work. Right. All the way to the end. So we're nearly there. It just takes a bit of time to get all the way round. I've tried it before, pinning it all and then sewing it, and it just doesn't work. So all the projects, there's a few kits that Amy and I have designed, and obviously first of all I make them in some rubbish fabric that I don't like, or probably that old dress that didn't work that I made. So usually I make them up to start with to see if they work, and then I give them to Amy and tell her some really rough design things, like this sort of needs to be a bit like this, and then she works her magic on them, and my horrible fabric thing comes back as beautiful printed. But it's just ridiculous. So I make it. She then colours it all in. We then have it test printed to see if we like the colours. I then make it up to see if it actually works, and then we have to change the print to make sure that the print is the right colour, or if it didn't actually work, we need to change it. Then I have to write the instructions for it and take photos of going through, and then we have to create. Then Amy creates the instructions. So it's quite a lengthy process to get to this stage. So. But only because, you know, I've spent my life writing instructions for magazines, and I know the importance of things needing to work. And Amy's whole background is in, you know, knowing the impact of how you use different colours and shadings, and she often uses different textures on things that creates different effects on fabric, so she gets it. So I can sew and she can draw. I really can't draw, but she can actually sew a bit. If we had a competition, she'd beat me, because her sewing is definitely better than my drawing. So there's quite a long process that goes into creating it, but then I know it works, which is important. Well, it is important. Oh, it's so annoying when things don't work. So look, there's the roof. So once you've sewn the roof on, like so, looks a bit funny now, doesn't it? There's the roof. You then sew the base on in exactly the same way, but it's a lot easier because obviously you haven't got the point of the house. So you sew the base on next, and then you've got a house like that, all sewn together. You leave the side unstitched so you can stuff it through the side, and then you put the roof on. And to do the roof, there are 4 pieces for the roof. There is the two inner roofs and 2 outer roofs. The inner roofs are plain, like this, and the outer roofs have got the shaping on them, because, you know, if you look at a proper thatched cottage, you can see they always have shaping across the top. So what you do is you sew an inner and an outer together, turn it right sides out, and then sew up the gap, and then you just sew around the edge, and that gives it a nice finish. And then what I did is I sewed along this shaped section here, and that just gives it even more depth. It gives it although Amy has put the shadow on, by quilting along it, it really adds to it. And when we did it, I said to her, this shape bit needs to be the same size as the chimney, because I had to look at pictures of thatched cottages, and the chimney, the thatch is often cut round it, so that's why this section in the middle is. Anyway, so that's your 2 roofs. We went for, this is very technical. We looked at lots of pictures. I said to her, it needs to look like that. So she then has to look at pictures of thatched cottages and work out how they work and what colour they are. And so, you know, if we're going to create the patterns to go on the fabric, they've got to be nice. So there's the thatched roof that you sew on. Right. When you do the chimney, the chimney top, which if I show you on the real thing, the chimney top is like a darker red colour. So in order to get Father Christmas in there, it's made of 2 pieces. To make Father Christmas, you just cut out the 2 Father Christmas pieces, and then I use Bondaweb to stick them together. And I actually then worked a blanket stitch around the edge by hand, but you don't have to, you could just leave that. And then you sew the 2 pieces right sides together with his legs out. So if you don't want him coming out of your chimney, if you don't want it so Christmassy as this, you just want it a bit, I mean, it doesn't have to be massively Christmassy, because it really is just foliage on the roof. If you don't want it to be a Christmassy, don't put his legs in, you just sew those together and leave them out. So you don't have to have that. And you don't actually have to have the chimney. So the chimney is 4 pieces that are sewn together like this. And you see how the bricks match up. See? And then the top is sewn into that, and then you sew the chimney onto the top of the house. But you don't have to put the chimney. So if you think, oh, well, that's a bit fiddly, I don't want to do that, it doesn't matter because it doesn't need to be on there. So that goes in, the chimney goes in there, and then you just sew it on, and that's the house finished. The pincushion is made exactly the same. The only difference is that the chimney is slightly different. We made it a bit simpler. That's just the little chimney. So you just sew that into the seam of the house. And obviously the side of the house has this special pocket on. So what you do for the pocket is you open up the pocket, you cut that, and then you fold it in half. And then you top stitch across the top of there, and then you just pin that onto here, and you can see, if you do it carefully enough, that it will match. And then you just sew it on, and that's your pocket, and you do that on both sides. So very simple, but I mean, as I said, everything that you need to know is in the instructions. If you have any problems with it, our email address is on there. You can give us a shout. So remember, in the if you want to buy, if you fancy a little Christmas cottage, then you have still got time to make it. You can make it in the evening. Lovely gift for somebody, either the full kit or the actual cottage. Really nice thing to buy for someone. Here's the panel. Oh, Christina's got an observation. From Freezing Wiltshire, love this panel, such good value for money. Should the windows be inverted so the window boxes are on the window ledge? They're not window boxes, actually. They are. You know, sometimes around the tops of windows you get all that sort of foliage, so you get like a garland of greenery, and then you put some Christmas lights in it, something like that. That's what it is. They're not window boxes, they're sort of foliage with baubles and lights. So they're decorated windows rather than a window box. But you could embroider your own window box on if you wanted. But so there's the panel that you get. So everything you've all the printing. You can't buy this anywhere else. This is only available, although it belongs to Amber Makes. We're only selling it on Sewing Street at the moment, but it is only on Sewing Street. So the first time we've created this. So we've had it on air before, but you can only buy it from Sewing Street. You can't get it anywhere else. And everything you need is on here. And it is totally exclusive. And you get full instructions, which are here, shiny ones. Well, again, you know, there's lots of things we thought about. We know how important it is that instructions make sense, but we also need, you know, they need to be decent quality, that you can see them, that you can see the pictures, that you can understand it. One other thing I didn't say is, if you want to quilt it, do that before you construct it. With my cottage, I actually put the front with some wadding behind it, and then I sewed along all the lines of the beams to quilt it, which doesn't show up massively when you look at it like this, but it looks very different than if you didn't quilt it. It just adds a certain 3D-ness to it. So you can do lots on this, or you don't have to do too much, but I did quilt along all the lines before I joined it together. There's other things that you will need to make this on top of the panel and the instructions. Nothing major. If you want to do the applique, you'll need a little bit of bond web. That's available on the Sewing Street website. You will need some interfacing, and that's the interfacing is used to stiffen. So you only need a little bit, but I used it to stiffen the chimney. So I pressed interfacing onto the back of all the chimney pieces, because that just makes it stand up a bit. You don't have to do that, but I just found that gave it a little bit more body. And we've got a message from Julie. Made them, love them. Oh, Julie, send us a picture. Send us a picture. Always like to see how people do it, because everyone sort of interprets things in their own way and do things that I haven't thought of as well. Think, well, I'd do it that way. And also you will need filling, so just soft toy filling. Soft you need soft toy filling, but you also need to fill it with something. So we have these recycled pellets. Now there's a kilo here, that is enough to fill it. Now these are quite heavy. They are quite heavy, but it doesn't matter how much it weighs, your P&P is still always £3.95, which is really weird, isn't it? So I wonder if you ordered like 500 packets of pellets, whether you'd still be charged the £3.95. Yeah, but no one's ever ordered 500 packets of pellets. So I know, but then if you buy a sewing machine, it's still only £3.95 P&P. It's the weirdest thing, isn't it? And you'll need some soft toy filling for it. If you are going to fill it with pellets or anything, the best thing to do is put them into a bag and tie it up, or make a cotton fabric bag just to put in, because it just keeps them together. So I would probably take them out of here and put them into a cotton fabric bag. And I put a little bit of weighting in the bottom of my pincushion just because it holds it still a bit, and also I wanted to use it like a pattern weight. So mine's actually got stones from the front path on in here. But these pellets are brilliant. They are recycled as well, but they are perfect for filling things, because sometimes if you use rice or peas or anything, they can absorb water and swell. So it's probably better to use stones, gravel or recycled pellets for that. So that's the cottage. So I have got other kits for you, so I'm just going to move one moment. One moment. Look at that, that's magic, isn't it? That's magic. You can like go out of one and you come in the other. That's just, or you just disappear. I just had to try that. Right, so we're now going to move on to needle felting. I love needle felting. I'm not very good at it, but I really like it. I need to start practicing actually, because I really love the effect of it. But I don't know, maybe it's just not, I'm just not very good at it, and I don't know why. We need some more lessons. So we have this beginner's felting bundle. So if you've not done needle felting before and you want to start off and you want to know how to do it, in here you get 80 grams of felting wool, 3 needles, 2 foam pads and a felting tool. But it's also really good if you do like needle felting and you've done lots of needle felting before, but you need some more colours. It's really, really good value for money, because you get green, grey, orange, cream, black, pink and like a dark brown. So if you haven't tried needle felting before, this is perfect. It's got all the sort of basic colours, a lot of kind of animal-y colours as well, and then you've got flowers and leaves and things. So that's ideal. Which one should we do? The hedgehog next? Can we do the hedgehog? Because I like the hedgehog one. I love this one. And can I open this one? Because it's, because this one has not been opened. Okay, I'm just going to disappear to get a pair of scissors so I don't ruin it. So I'm coming back. I'm coming back. Do not cut sellotape with your fabric scissors, just saying. This one I really like specifically. So look, isn't he really cute? So in here you get the, oh, it's beautiful. Right. There we go. So you get the lovely wool inside, and you get the two darker ones. But if we open up this is the best bit of the whole hedgehog. Some of us seen this before. You get his fur, spines, spikes. Look at those. This is the most, it's actually a fabric. I have no idea what it was and whether it's even been specially made for hedgehogs. And if it hasn't, what was it made for? But it's made from real hedgehogs. But it is not made from real hedgehogs. Ridiculous. It's fabric. But it looks like real hedgehog spines. So I don't know what it is made for, but maybe it is made specially for this. So you needle felt the whole hedgehog, and then this goes on top of it, and it is so realistic. It's just beautiful. It's like that sort of artificial grass, but hedgehog coloured. Anyway, I had to show you that because I just think that's the most amazing stuff. So everything you need is in there. You've even got the reel of thread for sewing it together. So the hedgehog is lovely, isn't he? Baby hedgehog. So if you'd like to have a go at needle felting and you've not tried before, everything you need, including the very comprehensive instruction booklet as well, with all, you know, all very, very step-by-step photos. Time to complete, 4.5 hours. It tells you, there's number 1, that's how you start off with the basic shape and how to make his nose and then how to make all his little legs. But it really is completely comprehensive. How to cut his fur to put that on. I mean, he's beautiful, isn't he? And it's called Beginners Easy Peasy. Age 10 plus. Easy peasy. So this is a great Christmas gift, isn't it? At the moment, I always like to try and buy people things for Christmas that they can do. It's lovely to buy stuff for people to do, and this is a great gift, isn't it? So $15.99. If you need to buy a small gift for somebody, but it is perfect, and it's the sort of thing over Christmas when people have got a bit more time on their hands, and it's age 10 plus. So it would be good for older children or a child with adults' help. I mean, remember, you wouldn't want really little ones because those needles are quite sharp. But it is something, if you had family at Christmas, you could do with them. But particularly older children, it's a perfect gift, or adults as well. But it also comes in a really nice box. Look, give it a little 360. Nice box as well. So it makes an ideal gift. So we've done the beginners and that one. I'm just going to move the ones out of the way that we've done. I love the beehive. Isn't that lovely? Beehive. Well, bees this year, well, they are at the moment, I think because they're becoming a bit protected, are really, and everybody loves bees, don't they? It's just so lovely because I like the fact that you've got the hive, but then you've got all these little needle felted bees all the way around. So in here, you've got all the wool for the needle felting, needles, the foam mat, but the wings are made from paper and those are printed out for you. Should we have a look? I'll cut them with my special sellotape cutting scissors. We're not allowed to open any more. I don't want to open it. I just want to see what his wings look like. Yeah, I think this one's already been opened. I want to see. Oh, look. Oh, no, it was worth it. Look at the wings. Can you see them? I tell you, shall I put them on this paper bag? Look. Look at the wings. So they're not on, they're like on a sort of a tracing paper. So they're slightly translucent. But they're printed on with all the veins. Do wings have veins? Yeah, okay. Whatever those things, the veins are called. But they're all printed on. So a bit like the hedgehog, that they've got special hedgehog fabric for the spines. These are exactly bee wings that you'd never get. I love them. They would bee wings. It was definitely worth opening. And then there's the tube of needles, and there's 3 in there. And there's even the pad that you need to do the felting on. So everything you need is in there. I think actually the beehive is my favourite. Yeah, I think so. I did like the hedgehog, but I think I've just changed my mind since I've seen the wings. So there we go. Look, there's all the instructions. Okay, there's all the instructions. Again, beginners easy peasy, age 10 plus. They're the Crafty Kit Company. They're based up in Scotland, completely United Kingdom British company, but they've really thought everything through. They've worked out, what the best way of explaining. The photos are just so clear. I like the way they've put all the photos together, and they've shown that it sort of feels achievable, doesn't it? Okay, so if I'm going to make a bee that looks amazing as that, I just start off with a small ball, and they explain it and build it up, but they give you the bits that, if they said, cut wings from a piece of paper, you wouldn't know where to start, but these are printed. These are lovely. And you often find that you buy a kit and then you get it home, or you give it to someone and they get it out, and there's loads of other stuff you need, and you never get them. It's a bit like buying something and it doesn't have the batteries in it, isn't it? and then you just can't use it. Very annoying. And particularly over Christmas, when you give something to somebody for Christmas, you know, they often want to start it that day. So, but everything you need is in here, especially the wings, which are the best, because you'd never be able to create those yourself. I mean, obviously the whole point of the kit is needle felting, not wings, but it's the little touches like that. I love the little things. That's why I have all the little bits on mine. So the baby bunny, I'm not going to open this one because I may well be sacked. I won't open this one. So that's the baby bunny kit. In this one, you get all the foot wool, the needles, foam to work on, glass eyes, even the little eyes. I'm not going to open it and show you, but it has got little eyes on it. So he's really cute. So what's that one? $11.99. That's a very affordable Christmas gift, isn't it? For somebody who wants to just have a little go. Or yourself. What a nice present for yourself. Right, and finally, we have the Rainbow of Hope needle felting quilt. I'm allowed to open this one. Now, obviously, it's very topical at the moment and would be lovely to put in your window. It's really nice. Create your own silver linings with this cheery needle flainted rainbow. I was just reading the front cover. We're just going to empty. We're just going to empty the contents because I'm allowed to. Okay. So obviously, it's got everything you need. It's got the embroidery hoop, and that's what you display it in. It's got the felt backing that you put on it, and then it's got all the colours of the rainbow. Funnily enough, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet together. And it's got clouds, because there were clouds at the bottom of the rainbow. So that's lovely. And let's see what's in the pack. Yes, that's just the needles and the pads, so I'm not going to open that up. But again, it's got all the instructions, and it is called Beginner's Easy Peasy, age 10 plus. I love the fact the clouds are very 3D, so they've got white behind the grey. But that's a lovely thing, isn't it? You hang that in your window. Just a little bit of joy in rainbows. But it explains completely with lovely photos how you do it and how it's created. And then you're even down to how to finish your hoop off on the back. So $13.99, that's very, very affordable for such a fully kit, proudly made in Scotland. And it is pure wool, it is good quality. It's not, it's a good quality kit. There are kits and there are kits, aren't there? So I'm going to fold the piece of felt up neatly and pop the hoop back inside. But I mean, bar a pair of scissors, I think that's pretty much got everything you need. I'll put all the little bits, but that's just a really nice, and it's great at this time of year to buy things like this when you just want to spend a bit of time doing something, or if you just want something to do, buy it for yourself. That'll fill a few evenings, won't it? It's the sort of thing you need to take your time over and do nice and slowly to get right. What should we do next? Should we do the eau de coat? Oh yes, because we talked about eau de coat earlier. I've got thread all over me. Look, I think it's actually stuck to me. No, it's all stuck to me. I look really messy. The eau de coat. Now I talked to you. I've got thread everywhere. We talked about this earlier when I was talking about embroidery and coasters. So eau de coat is just brilliant. Show you. Oh, show you. No, it's very difficult because I want to look at it. So that's eau de coat. It's amazing stuff. Am I allowed to open it? Oh, that was a bit stiff. There we go. So it's like a jelly. Look, it's like a sort of a spreadable jelly. I'm now waterproofing myself so that if it's raining, if it's raining, I'll be able to go out. It's amazing stuff. It's like I'm just showing you. It's like a jelly, and you paint it on top of fabric, and it makes it like water resistant or waterproof. So you can keep painting and painting. So if you paint, you can paint the fabric before you sew it, but you can also paint fabric and then sew with it. It works either way. So I've made a wash bag before, where I made the wash bag and then I painted it. You just use a brush and you brush it on. The more coats you put on, the more waterproof it becomes. So if you did, say, a little cosmetic bag and you wanted it just be a bit shower proof or just, you know, splash proof, you just put on one coat. But if you were doing something that you wanted, like a coaster, much more waterproof, you go up to about 3 coats. It becomes like oilcloth, really waterproof. But it is great because if you do it onto the fabric, it actually makes the fabric really easy to cut and sew because it makes it a little bit stiffer. But it's just fantastic stuff. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's eau de coat, fabric becomes oilcloth. And it does, but it depends how many layers you put on as to whether it's shower resist, splash proof or fully waterproof. Yeah. So there are other products that are similar to this, not that we sell, but other people sell, that you can't wash afterwards, but this is fully washable. It's just like I've no idea what's in it. Doesn't even really smell either. Yeah, so it's really good for things like cosmetic bags and that, but it's very good for table mats. But if you were saying you wanted like a waterproof table mat, or you wanted a kid's apron or a mat to put your pets bowls on, any of those things which you'd need to put in a washing machine could. So if you wanted to make table mats and you think, oh, well, I can't wash them afterwards, yeah, you can just pop them in the washing machine, be absolutely fine. And you just need like I use like a wide sort of 1/2-inch paintbrush. You just put it all on. But it's what is quite good is that when I did the wash bag, because I did it on afterwards, it sort of waterproofed all the seams as well. So it's really useful. It's a very, very good product. And now I've waterproofed my hand. It's not actually itchy or anything, but it just rubs off. But I wouldn't do that. But actually, it just rubs off a bit like PVA glue. But it isn't PVA glue. It is a proper substance, eau de coat, but it is great. It's transparent as well, which is very useful. In the paper bag, right. So this is, oh, that's lovely. So we did this apron before, and we put eau de coat on it because in the pattern, shall I take it out and show you? In the bag is the full pattern to make it makes an adult apron and a child's apron. So if I open up the pattern, you can see it tells you on the back what you need in fabric. You need 1 metre of 150 centimetre width fabric, or 1.5 metres of 115, and that's to make the adult apron. But it tells you on the kit what you need, and then you get the full size pattern, so you can really make Mummy and Me. You can make exactly the same apron. But what's lovely, and they are full size, it's no sort of like enlarge it or anything. There's also the template so that you can make the eggs. So if you look on here, on the front of the children's apron is like a bowl and eggs. Oh, of course I'm upside down. So you've got the eggs there, but all the templates for the spoon and the bowl and everything is on there. So it's really nice. So it's a lovely thing that you can make one for adults and you can make one for children. So it's a great thing if you want to just buy the pattern because you want to make some, but it's a good gift for somebody if you wanted to make a set for your daughter and your grandchildren as well. That would be really nice. But it does tell you on how much you need. So if you want to make the adult apron, you'll need 1 metre of fabric, and the children's apron, you need 3/4 meters of fabric. So that's lovely. Really like that. So if you want to make the apron, we've got quite a few cotton canvases here. Now I think that because they're canvas, these should be, let me just check by holding it out. They are extra wide, yes. So these are 150 centimetres. I needed to measure it. They don't have to be for the apron, you use them for anything, but if you wanted to make the apron with them, there's a red, that's on the screen at the moment. If you wanted to make the adult apron, you need 1 metre. If you want to make the child's, you need 3/4 metre. Okay, so we've also got it in a lovely pale blue. This is a real sky blue colour. beautiful sky blue in June, not at the moment. It's beautiful, isn't it? But it's a really lovely quality canvas. It's a very good quality canvas, particularly for dressmaking. So if you wanted to make, you know, a more sort of autumn winter weight dress, maybe a pinafore or a skirt, this is ideal for it. I love this charcoal colour. Charcoal is always so much more flattering than black as well. I think everyone always thinks, oh, you need to wear black fabric, but charcoal is much more flattering because it's softer. It's not so harsh on the skin. It doesn't wash you out as much. So if you wanted to make maybe a skirt or dress or pinafore would look lovely in this. But it is 150 centimetres wide, so it is that extra width. But it's not really stiff. You could use it obviously for bag making, but you know how some canvases are very sort of bag stiff, but this it is a really nice drape to it. So it would work well for dressmaking, as well as, you know, cushions, soft furnishings, bags, all that kind of thing. You know, nice for tote bags, good for aprons. But if you were looking for a canvas for dressmaking, this one is ideal. And £3.99. Gosh, that's very good value. This one is called Pewter. It is, yeah, it's a charcoal. Pewter maybe a light charcoal. But remember, if you want to buy more than half a metre, then you can buy more. So if you wanted to say 1.5 metres, put 3 in your basket, but you will be sent 1.5 metres. It is all cut to order. You won't be sent 3.5 metres. So if you need it for dressmaking, don't worry, it will all be sent in separate pieces. Okay, so there's the pewter, the sky blue, and the red. So let's have a look at, because we've now almost finished Sewing Street, ready for Yarn Lane. So tomorrow, coming up on Sewing Street at 8 o'clock, we have got fabulous fabrics. We've got some wonderful fabrics to bring you tomorrow to inspire you for all your quilts and projects. At 9 o'clock, we've got the Strawberry Hearts Table Runner with Yvonne. Yvonne's coming in tomorrow, the lovely Yvonne. So she's in at 9 o'clock doing the Strawberry Hearts Table Runner. 10 o'clock, Seams gift sets. Oh, have you seen Seams? Oh, Karen for Seams is here. So Seams do the most amazing hand cream. I used to have some on my desk and it really is lovely. It's made 4 stitches. 11 o'clock, we've got Village Fabric Kits, again with Yvonne. She's great. You will love her. She's so talented and really entertaining to watch as well. And then at 12 o'clock, we've got sewing machines. So a whole hour just dedicated to sewing machines. So don't go anywhere because it's Monday, it's Yarn Lane, and we have got some fantastic ladies' knits for you. So see you in just a couple of minutes. Okay.